All right, that was I was following around with my settings there, and oh yeah, I can do a countdown. Oh crap! Uh, Hi, welcome to a girl, a guy, and a movie. I'm Bruce, and my co-host tonight is the lovely Janet from another planet. How are you tonight,
Hello,
Janet?
I'm here
Yeah,
finally after last week's fiasco.
that happens.
I,
Um,
it's God's intervention.
it is. It is. Um, I'm gonna. I'm going to go and grab a cup of coffee, but I need you. Hey guys, I need you to start us off. And
Okay,
you didn't get a chance to talk about the Cowboy Way. You had like a total of 3 minutes that I counted.
yeah,
I
I'm
need
sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry. Let's can't control technology and the city development and like where they put a good T1 line at. That's not up to you.
I know.
Even though it's like the middle of freaking like the Texas Triangle, well, not the Texas Triangle, just north of it. And well, it's they were out in the boonies out by Plano. I don't know if anybody here knows Plano too well. I know Plano. All my friends that live in Plano make over about 250 to $300,000 a year, and they play in oil and gas.
Yeah,
So there's really no excuse for Plano to drag their feet on updating the damn cords that run alongside the road.
yeah, there isn't. They are rich out there, though. You got to have a big, big house and lots of land
Mm.
to live out there.
The dream, the dream, the dream. I want you to talk and to resume your thoughts before we start on tonight's movie, The Cowboy Way. We start off episode 15 with you having a dissertation. I need to run in the other room for about 40 seconds, grab some coffee because I really like this coffee. It's not even my usual coffee, but I'm going to grab it and I'm going to come back in here and listen to you talk about the Cowboy Way because the Cowboy Way we that was a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting not to like it at the age of 47.
Me either.
I,
I was expecting to like it a lot more than I ended up liking it, getting
yeah.
to watch it, years and years later as a grown up. It was way different. Not a teenager, but
So let me turn it over to you, and I'd like everybody to give Janet their undivided attention.
thank you guys. Yeah, I was severely disappointed, way more than I expected because I had fond memories of the movie The Cowboy Way because I thought Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson were really cute, and I just thought they were really good actors. And once I started watching this movie, once it got past the rodeo stuff and they went into the city, I started finding huge flaws in the movie that I didn't remember when I was younger. And I have no idea how I could possibly have not have noticed as many gaffes as I did when I watched it this time. And I was so upset when I realized that my service just kept going in and out. It really was very frustrating. But the parts where they were able to just go anywhere they wanted in the city in a pickup truck. And I have been to the city many times, and it takes hours just to drive a few blocks because there's so much back to back traffic. Unless you're in a taxi, you're probably not going to get very far. So I was really surprised about how unrealistic that part of it was, and the fact that the crazy lunatic guy that took the girl, which wasn't even a young girl, which I'm kind of glad because of the child trafficking stuff, I probably would have got even more upset. But the fact that he took this one woman after her father had paid $5,000 to get her to the United States from Cuba to have, and she was working in a sweatshop, but for some reason he was attracted to her enough to kill the guy over a few $1,000s just to keep this woman. And it didn't make any sense because the boat was filled with women, and young women and older women or whatever. So the fact that he chose this one woman, they didn't give enough details about what it was about this woman that he wanted that was so worth risking his whole livelihood to keep this girl. I had a really hard time with that. And the whole banter back and forth between Pepper and what was his name? The other guy's name? I can't remember. Kiefer Sutherland's character.
His name was Sonny.
Sonny is Sonny and Pepper. Their banter back and forth, to me, that wasn't annoying. It was kind of fun. That was part of the things that I liked about it. The fact that Pepper was so funny was one reason why I think I was able to watch the whole movie this time, was because I looked forward to the different things that I remembered from when I was younger. But the whole thing where they took the illegal guy, I don't know why I said that. That was terrible of me. But the one guy that
You're talking about Nacho.
The guy with the mustache that was took the girl and had kept her and was keeping her back, helping. He was like a bodyguard, I guess, to the one guy that kidnapped the girl. And he had the mustache, and they took him to the petting zoo to use their special technique on getting him to tell the truth.
You're talking about Louise Guzman. His most daring role yet.
Yes, but that scene, I love that part of the movie. That was one of my very favorite parts, because the way they filmed it made it a classic. See, this is what the things that I remembered, why I love this movie so much. And they filmed between his legs, and you see the calf running toward him. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh too much, but that thing, and then the look on his face when that little calf gets a hold of him, he's like, "What? How is a little calf gonna hurt me?" The whole aspect of suck chrome up a bumper is what came into my head, because I heard many of my guy friends say that girl looks like she could suck chrome up a bumper. So apparently men don't really like that when it comes to reality. They might say they do, but they wouldn't like it too much if they couldn't handle a baby calf. Sorry, I'm so perverted. But it's very funny. That part was funny. But the whole thing with Manny was the big boss, and he ended up killing him to take over his business. But all for a woman. I mean, and he didn't even love her. I mean, it wasn't like he fell in love with her and he had to have her. It was, I don't know. He was just nuts. This guy was just nuts. So his character, to me, didn't really have any substance. There was no reason and rhyme behind why he wanted this girl and why he was risking everything to get her and to kill people for her. So that really hurt my point of view on the overall movie. The part where Pepper gets to meet the beautiful woman at the restaurant, because she sticks his business card in his shirt where they were eating dinner at the Waldorf Astoria. I thought that was funny. So
Mark Hallenberger.
Yeah, she was very pretty, and I loved her character, and I absolutely loved the two friends of hers, the two wild, flamboyant gays that were hysterical. And that was one of the things I think I brought up. I don't know if you could hear it or not, but it was the part that, what year did that movie come out? In 94 or something? Something like that. I don't have my notes anymore. So the thing is, even back then, we accepted the fact that there were gays, openly gay actors or flamboyant people in this movie, and it didn't bother people. People still paid money to go see a movie with flamboyant characters in it. And now today we're all homophobes. So I don't understand that. I don't understand how any of this homophobic stuff is flying, because we were accepting of it way back in the 80s and the 90s. And now today, everyone hates gays. I just don't, none of that stuff makes sense. That political part of it is ruining Hollywood, because we already accept that stuff and we laugh. If it's funny content, we're going to laugh at it. So it has nothing to do with whether we like them or we hate them. It's because it's funny or it's entertainment. Okay. And that is where we're lacking in the movie industry, is that we are not getting anything anymore that's very entertaining to keep our attention span, to make us want to stay in the seat and eat more popcorn and enjoy the music or the beauty of the scenery or the romance between the two actors or whatever it is. We're not getting enough of that. But this movie, if it hadn't been for some of that aspect of the whole reason why the bad guy was the bad guy, it probably would have been 10 times better. But I can see why so many younger people flock to the movie to see some of the characters in it, because they were at the time, I think Lost Boys was out. I don't remember exactly the timeline, but there was other movies out with Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson. And that's why I think a lot of people went to the movies. And I think all women and a lot of men think that cowboys are just kick ass. That's why Yellowstone is like a huge success today, is because people love cowboys still. Even guys, they see how macho the men are, that they can rope cows and they can kick ass, ride horses and whatever else, wear chaps. That's what I like about cowboys. But that was what I was wanting to say about the movie, and that I really liked it. I mean, I would give it an 8, at least an 8, just simply because I loved the characters of Pepper and Sonny. And was it Nacho? Was that the dad that got killed trying to bring his daughter back?
Was her dad.
Okay. Well, I loved his character, and until all of it up until like the when Woody Harrelson's character was playing, this the Seacom Chief or whatever, where the girl was trying to find her hide and seek chief in the shower. That whole scene, I loved it. I thought all of that was really, really good until they ended up going to New York City. And Sonny wore that coat every single day, running, fighting bad guys and everything. And he still wore that heavy, thick coat. And I thought that was kind of stupid. I don't know why they made him wear that jacket the whole time, but just little things like that is what dropped it down from a higher score to me. It was just too hard for me to, as an adult, I don't know, to accept it as a grown up. It's harder to accept. I mean, I can see why a young woman that was infatuated with cute, hot guys would want to see the movie. But if I had never seen it before and had just seen this movie for the first time, now I wouldn't have gave it an 8. I probably would have gave it a 4, because I just thought the plot was just, when it came to New York City and why they took the girl and stuff like that, there was no plot. It was just dumb. She was a pretty girl and everything. They could have put so much more juicy details in there about why that he fell in love with her, or she dissed him or something, a little more juice in there to make it seem more believable. But that's my score for that movie.
For me, that movie wasn't worth the squeeze, and I wish I didn't have that score for it. But I loved this movie in '94 when I first saw it. I was 19, and I thought it was just a brilliant film. And Woody Harrelson was a hell of an actor, and he said, just slap that cow on the plate after you whack its horns off and warm it up with a big lighter. I'm like, man.
He said, "Pop his horns and wipe his dirty ass and lay him on the plate."
Yeah. This man is my spirit animal.
And that's how
I found out he's a vegan, and I'm like, I've been hurt. And he even had to have like a special Twinkie made for him for the movie Zombieland, because he can't eat a real Twinkie. So I have less of an opinion about Woody Harrelson than what I had before. And hello, Bone. How you doing?
my opinion has changed on Woody too. So
I really like Woody Harrelson roles, but as an actor, as a person, I don't find him intriguing, and I'm separating the actor from the act. And the movie was fun when I was 19, but when I was like 47, not so much.
Yeah, it ruined it. I was like, I ruined the movie for myself because I wanted to watch it again. But I had, I really thought, I was really shocked that it was as bad as it was when I got to see it again.
And Margaret Hellenberger, whatever her name is, like I've enjoyed damn near every role that I've watched her in. She usually brings to life whatever the script is, and she puts it in a perspective to where you have somebody who appears thoughtful, they appear suave, she appears sexy, And I thought she was at her best in, you're going to hate this, but in Species. Another
I thought that was good. But in this movie, in Cowboy Way, the scene where she does the tequila shots with Pepper, honestly, oh, it made me want to do my first shot.
Yeah.
That's the kind of first shot that I got to have. After I saw that movie, I was like, me and my girlfriends were like, we're going to go do some shots. But we got to find some attractive cowboys to do them with. So,
and that movie starts off so right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was good.
The rodeo's great. The setup for the two boys growing up together as friends, and then showing him, still being an 18-year-old kid in a 30-year-old man's body, hunting the rodeo queen girl in his cabin while she's wearing a wedding ring.
Yeah, and he comes outside and he's got a hat and he takes his hands off his hat and it still stays in place.
Of course, because his meat is keeping the hand up.
Yeah, I know.
Keeping the hand up. That's awesome. That's how a man should be.
I loved it all the way. All that stuff. The banter between Sonny and Pepper, I liked. Even the part where he went and he got his guns back from the pawn shop. All that stuff was all really good story. The thing fell apart in New York when you brought in the bad guy because there wasn't any reason to kill the girl. Oh, and then I forgot about the cowboy, the Pickett or whatever his name is, William Pickett.
Oh God.
Oh, that was a little
say your piece.
Corny and stupid for me to really bring up. I mean, he was an enjoyable character, but the fact was the same thing, is that it was too larger than life for reality, because a regular beat cop riding a horse isn't going to be able to call in the troops. You know what I'm saying?
No, he's not going to have the juice to do that.
Yeah,
he goes in and like, round up a posse.
Yeah,
really?
He'll do that, or go in and hold a gun to all those people that were in that bar. While they're just, some of that stuff was really stupid. It was over.
That scene was horrible because Woody Harrelson drove a truck and destroyed private property.
And he could have ran over
marquee.
Yeah, but he could have ran over people too.
Yeah, and the cop just did nothing. So
there were too many little gaffes in there that to me, I would definitely be able to blame a lot of that on the editing. But the story behind the guy that took the girl and killed the Nacho and did all that stuff, there was just no story in there. It was so, I don't know, it was just lame.
It was
very lame. So, but that's how I feel about the movie. I was really saddened.
The logistics of that film are just miserable, because if anybody here in chat or if anybody here knows New York City, you know that chase sequence is about 3 hours shorter than what it should be. And
watch any of those videos that they put on the news where they got the police chasing a car down Main Street, or even O.J. Simpson's car chase, how long it took to drive down the freeway and stuff. It's just dumb. It's just that all that was really stupid. So, and see, before when I was younger, I'd never been to New York City, So I didn't know what the traffic was like or any of that stuff. People were going when the light's red and no one's going when it's green. That kind of thing. And that you could practically a bad guy could just walk down the busy road and rob everybody while they're sitting in their car because they can't go anywhere. They're stuck. So it's wall to wall stop traffic, basically bumper to bumper, and it's terrible. I mean, and honking, it's smoggy, and it's just really terrible. But I just thought the movie was it was a letdown compared to what it was when I was younger and getting to watch and enjoy the scenery.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and I completely agree with you. I just wanted to hear you with your viewpoint, since last week
But
we were
my favorite scene in the movie was the baby calf scene. That was the comic high for me to get to watch that again, because it did make me laugh, and I laughed out loud, and I couldn't stop laughing because it was so funny. The camera angles and all that was genius. They could never do that again. They will never ever see anything like that again.
We'll never see a movie like this ever again.
No, you definitely.
This movie has passed its prime, and they've completely taken any reason why you might have such a testosterone-filled moment, and they've wadded that up and thrown that away. So if you guys want to have,
I don't know. I can't really say that now.
really?
Now about it, have you seen Yellowstone?
I didn't say that the Cowboy Way was the standard. No, I said that you couldn't have that movie made.
That something like
made in New York or California.
Yeah.
Yellowstone is different.
Yeah, it is different. It is different. But I'm talking about the whole scene where the baby calf. They could do that in Yellowstone to get somebody to tell them what they wanted to know, something like that.
So. I actually know this lady that she could probably write a script for it and get a few quid in her purse.
Yeah.
All she has to do is just write the scene, and I think she'd probably get it. She might even get like some credit on the back end of the credits there. But
yeah,
it all depends on what Janet wants to do. Oh wait, did I solicit that? I'm sorry. Oh dang it.
Well, I do have I have people looking, so that's all.
Tonight's movie that we were supposed to review and discuss is a film from 1987 called Real Men. And I was recommended this by a friend of mine named Shadow. It's got Jim Belushi, John Ritter, Barbara Bain, Bill Murray, directed by Dennis Feldman. And it was an 85-minute movie that felt like an 85-minute stretched in 2-hour made-for-TV film. It really did. I when I researched this movie, like it did really poorly in the theaters. They had it in theaters for about a week, maybe 8 days, maybe, and then they just kind of yank it out. And I believe it was MGM or Universal, whichever company put this out, they were really scared. They were super scared about this movie because they had the script, they knew what they were getting, but there was a movie that had been released in 1981, maybe 1980, that they really were worried that this was going to turn into another film like it. The distributor of this movie was United Artists, and in 1987 they were still suffering the after effects of Heaven's Gate, and that's an old epic Western movie with Michael Cimino as the writer and director. Had Chris Christopherson, Chris Walken, John Hurt, Sam Waterston, Brad Dourif, Jeff Bridges. I mean, it was fucking just stacked with stars.
Yeah.
And the movie was like given like 6 or 7 edits, and the one they put in the theater was almost 3 hours or a little over 3 hours. And United Artists just dropped the ball. And they get this movie, Real Men, and they're just tepid. They're like, here's a John Ritter, James Belushi movie. Let's make a buddy cop film. And so we get this buddy cop movie, and I need you to tell me what you're thinking about it.
Well, I never saw the other one that you were talking about.
Heaven's Gate.
Yeah,
Oh, we'll watch that in a future show.
okay. Well, I never saw that one, so I can't comment on what you said. But this movie, I didn't really know what it was about because I didn't have a chance to watch the trailer, which I normally like to do because it kind of gives me an idea of what's going to happen or gives me an insight a little bit. But I didn't get to do that. But I watched the movie and I was shocked because at the very beginning, when Ritter dies, is shot and he dies, I'm like, he was only in the movie for like 2 minutes. And I thought that was weird because I didn't.
What was he doing at the start of the movie?
At the start of the movie, when he's walking through the woods to do something, he's shot, but it's not him; it's him as the other character. Remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that though. See,
No, I had to watch this movie twice.
Okay, well, I didn't know that he was the other guy. Bob Wilson was picked because he looked like the real.
The real delivery man.
Shoot, yeah. What was his name? I'm trying to remember real quick. Give me a
You're
second.
good. John Ritter had 2 roles in this film.
Yeah, he was the top agent that they were needing, and that they only want. I didn't want to ruin the other part about why he was even in the movie, or the character was even in there, because I didn't realize it was about aliens.
that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, that made it. I was like, I don't know. That kind of like pushed it way back for me on, like I was kind of laughing and stuff because some of the comedy was really funny, and I felt really bad for him because he was such a wuss, like when his son's bike got stolen and all that stuff. And because I liked John Ritter, I thought he was, funny, a funny actor and stuff, but it seemed like to me right off the bat that James Belushi was like too over the top ham bony. Does that make sense? He was so.
Yeah.
I've seen him in other movies, and he seemed like he had a better take on the person he was supposed to be. Now, John Ritter's character to me was more believable as just an insurance salesman whose wife didn't think she had much of a man or whatever.
Yeah, she's getting her milk from another milkman.
Yeah, the kids kind of looked at their dad as a wimp, that he's no backbone, no spine. I don't know. He seemed very believable in his character, but me looking at James Belushi as the character they said he was, or he was supposed to be, this famous agent or whatever, he just seemed out of place. He just seemed like his character was so fake. I mean, it was like fake. He had a fake persona or whatever. So I kept waiting for the real story to happen, that something's going to happen and we're going to find out that he's the one. He was an alien, or he was, I don't know, somebody that wasn't supposed to be there or something. I kept waiting for something to happen, but it never did. But my favorite scene with James Belushi in it was the one when he got to meet the dominatrix woman.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, I gotta get me one of those swings.
I want to just say to you, Janet, we're talking about a movie from 1987.
Yes.
And as much as this movie flew under the radar of so many millions of people, there's no spoilers. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You can talk about every aspect of this film.
I didn't want to ruin anything, but after that scene, now that was more the James Belushi that I remember. That scene he handled like a champ, I thought. That, for me, that was one of the very best scenes in the whole movie with him acting in it. Mm-hmm. Because he was very believable in that part. Now, the part when he gets in the car after he's had that wonderful romp with this dominatrix woman, and she was kick-ass. I loved her outfit. I loved her using the crack in the whip. She was hot as heck. I mean, she was very attractive. I was wanting to be in the room. You know what I'm saying? That was a really good scene. I really loved it. I thought that was very exciting. But, oh well, that's who I am, I guess.
Shadow and Son lives in California, so he knows some people on a more personal level than what we saw for the rest of the nation. We saw Jack Ritter as Jack Tripper for
Oh,
many years,
yes, for sure.
and I grew up in front of a television set. It feels like, and the movie Dream On, except for all the sex that I got, yeah, that could be me because I was in front of the TV a lot because there was really not much to do after 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So, okay, well, watch TV. And so Three's Company was part of my diet. The Ropers, I remember briefly, it was a bad television show. There was a movie released in 1980 called Hero at Large, where I call him Jack Tripper, but it was John Ritter. He's dressed up as a superhero and he stops a bank robbery or a food robbery at a retail market, and he tries to capitalize on it. He kind of starts this little movement, and he's wanting to impress this cute neighbor who's played by Ann Archer, which that was when Ann Archer was a cute young thing. And I'm just going to say that she will be remembered in that same league of women that I consider Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield. I crushed on Ann Archer when I was growing up. So,
well, I thought, like the whole part where they fought the clowns. It was just, to me, whoever wrote the script and the people that coddled the script, I don't know. It was like they were grasping at straws to put anything and throw anything at it to see what stuck to the wall or
I
something.
need to fill 85 minutes.
Yeah, so it was very, I don't know. The whole premise of having this one guy be killed at the beginning, that was supposed to go get this map and then get the glass of water or whatever else and go talk to these aliens. There's been a couple movies that's been out, like, oh, I don't remember all of them, but there's been a few that like a star or whatever wrote or their relative wrote, and then they get all their friends to be in it for really cheap. And the movies never really do that well, like Rabbit Test. There's a few others, and I'm trying to remember the names of them, but the movies don't do that well because they're I don't know. They're not even indie films. They're just films that, they had extra money or extra time and they thought it was funny and it was somebody's pet
George
project.
Lucas won't let us fill an hour with another holiday special. What are we gonna do? I have the script from my 4-year-old son. Let's try it.
Yeah, well, it just seemed blatantly obvious that it was just thrown together in a very short amount of time just to fill a gap. Maybe they had a contract with James Belushi and Ritter, and they had to put him in so many movies before they could let him have their contract or something like that. That's the only thing I can think of why they would even make this movie.
And I actually really love. I really liked the clown scene because I just like seeing clowns get shot. I'm still kind of pissed about it. Anyway, go ahead.
The fact that he was he had a story arc, basically. John Ritter's character had an arc where he started out as a wimpy salesman, interior salesman, with a wife that might have been cheating on him, and his neighbors treated him like dirt. They wiped their feet on him, basically.
They stole the kid's bike and painted it pink.
Yeah, but the thing is that his character developed throughout the movie, and Jim Belushi, he didn't. He just kind of floundered through the whole movie as a guy that there's no way in hell he would have ever been an agent because he had no structure. He was not disciplined in any way.
Nope.
he just, you know, like especially like the shooting scenes. I
Yeah.
guess after seeing movies like John Wick and um, Nobody and stuff like that, where you have really good action-packed fights, where you can see the they took hours and hours and hours of training to be able to act like they really were hitting each other and it was realistic. And then when they're shooting each other or stabbing each other or whatever, it just seemed real. And the contact between the two actors punching each other or whatever, it was like you would go, oh, you know, like freaking out thinking that somebody really got hurt, even though you know it's a movie. But watching these guns going off and nobody can shoot except for Jim Belushi, uh,
Yeah,
just stuff like that. And then poor John Ritter having to run around and go bang, bang with his hands as a grown man. I just thought, you know, it was funny, but it was over the top stupid. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I kind of felt sorry for him as an actor at that point because I'm like, man, here's a
That's
guy
why
that he's done TV sitcoms for
he's
years.
won awards. He won a bunch of different awards. I mean, let
Yeah,
me click his name and go
he
to
was,
that.
he was on My Wife and Kids with the most one of the most beautiful women of the '90s. I can't even think of her fucking name. Jesus, failed, Bruce. You failed.
He received a Primetime Emmy Award and a Golden Globe Award.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy has won awards for acting in comedies.
Now,
Okay,
he was in Dave's World as just himself and John Hartman. He was
it was
in
the Three's a
Anything But
Crowd.
Love.
Three's a Crowd was one of it, and
Three's
Three's
a Crowd. And he did Where's the Why Wife and Kids?
well,
Courtney Thorne Smith
that
was
he
his co-star for one of the best TV series sitcoms for years, I thought. And he was just like before you had the Full House people try to come off as America's dads. John Ritter played a really good father figure.
yeah, and
And
he was clean. He was one of those actors who didn't have to say F it, that, and F
yeah,
it, that, and this and that, and do nasty stuff just to get people to laugh. You know what I mean? So he was a clean comic where he, you know, had little innuendos and stuff, but he really didn't have to do anything gross and nasty to get people to think he was funny or anything. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It
And
was like
I made a
sitcom.
mistake. It wasn't Courtney Thorne Smith with him. She was on my life according to Jim with Jim Belushi. My bad.
But I thought it was I thought his character did really well. I thought his acting was very good considering the movie wasn't really that good, written very well, and there was really no basis for us. A story. There was really no story. They didn't put any juicy tidbits here and there about where they met the aliens and you know how long they've been in contact. You know, nothing good. You know, no.
We could have done an entire movie as to what happened to
How the
Jim
water,
Belushi's father.
all that stuff.
What happened to his dad? Why did his dad turn into a sex pot? What happened?
Yeah. Oh, that scene too. Yeah.
Oh my god! I
He was
couldn't.
making out when he's okay. He just found out his wife might be cheating on him, and
Yeah,
he ended up making out with a transvestite on the couch, and it's
yeah.
going.
Look at these tits. Like holy shit!
Oh, she was hot.
I mean, yeah, she was hot. Diane Thorne is a sex pot from the '60s and '70s, and she had a lot of risque movies. She just died in 2020, and she was a singer and a real actress, and she went through hell. She did some really bad movies. She's probably one of those people that's been Weinsteined a few times, you
Oh,
know. And I feel sorry for her because like you could read her filmography on IMDb, and you could see that she probably had to pay for a mortgage or two with her body, and
yeah.
it just it. Go ahead.
But and the fact that when I was looking up Jack Ritter, you know, his character or whatever, John Ritter's character,
Mm-hmm.
to get some more information about him. I didn't even realize he had died.
Yeah,
So
that
I
was in
oh,
2003 he
died of
passed.
a heart attack or something. When I looked it
Yeah.
up, it was really sad because he was really a good actor, and it's both his. Well, one of his sons. I've seen him in a few movies, and it's just sad. It just made me sad to know that he had died because I didn't realize he had died, and I didn't realize he was married to until I was reading somewhere too, who his wife was, the actress that he was married to. And she sued a bunch of people over his death.
Yeah, when he passed, it was
Yazbek something.
that was Dorothy Faye that you're talking about. No, that was his mom. My bad.
Yeah.
God damn it. She.
His dad was Tex Ritter,
Yeah.
the singer. And that's why when he was wearing that one shirt, the black shirt that looked like something Tex Ritter would have worn,
Yes.
that I was like, oh, okay. So now that shirt makes sense because I'd seen him wear shirts like that before.
Yeah.
But he always dresses nice too. That's another thing. He always dressed very handsomely, you know, in nice blacks. And
he was a very good preppy dresser. And I forgot his wife was Amy Yazbek.
yeah, that's his second wife. They
Yeah.
got married in like 1999, I guess.
Good job for John. That's all I can say. I liked her a lot in Men in Tights. I'll just say that and leave it there.
Yeah, she was in quite a few movies because when I saw her picture, I was like, oh, I recognize this woman. I've seen her in lots of movies. You know, I don't think she was the top star in it, but, you know, she still had her face out there. Got to be in a lot of stuff because they worked together in something, and that's how they met. I was trying to remember. Problem Child, that's it. The one with the redheaded kid.
Yes.
Right? Okay, yeah. So that's the movie that I think that he met his future wife in when they got married, and then they had a daughter, I think, together because he already had boys with his first wife.
And I'm gonna just be very unpopular right now. When I refer to Jim Belushi, I talk about him as America's funniest living Belushi because there's really nobody else that's in his family that does any work. And I just can't stand Jim Belushi. Like, there's a movie that he was in with a canine, uh, came out right about the same time as Tom Hanks's movie Turner and Hooch, and one of them felt like a copy of the other. And I automatically relegate anything Jim Belushi does to be a lower tier than what it might actually be, and it's really not fair because there's some things he's done, like My Wife and Kids was really a funny show, but I didn't like him so much because his character seemed to foul up more than anything else, and I blame him specifically for being that bumbling white married father that sitcoms would use and reuse and reuse and abuse and beat up on you for being a white male with a hot wife that couldn't do anything right. You know, I can't stand Jim Belushi. I'm not.
I mean, I never saw him as a star. I always saw him as a supporting actor. I mean, does that make sense? Because I didn't think his just like Tom Arnold. Okay, the only movie that I ever saw Tom Arnold in that I actually thought, damn, he did a really good job was True Lies.
Best movie that's probably my favorite movie. Nope, never mind. Cancel that. Never mind. Not of '94, but it was in my top 3.
Well, the part where he played the partner,
yes,
and his character in that movie was the best acting job that I can remember Tom Arnold doing. Well, he's Belushi is the same way. It's very rare that he outshines anyone else in a scene because he's just a supporting actor. He doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't.
He does a very good job of propping up those around him.
Yeah.
But whenever the spotlight's on him, he does not seem to really do well. He doesn't shine.
Yeah, he does.
And
I don't know. He doesn't
the
hold.
movie he was in that probably would be his best film would be Red Heat with Schwarzenegger. That's the only movie I could say that probably is a good Jim Belushi really did well in almost all the scenes because he does his best to be the supporting person for this Russian cop, which is played by the massive at the time Schwarzenegger,
Yeah.
and that's I wish I
Well,
could say something nicer about
I
him.
thought he did okay in Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, he didn't mess up that part. He did,
Wait,
but
Jim Belushi was in Little Shop of Horrors?
yeah, he had a small little part. But the thing is that I never saw the Fury. Uh, at least I don't remember seeing it, and I saw some of the Man in One Red Shoe. You know, and some of these other movies that it says he was in. I don't think I ever saw him. I never saw Wonder Wheel or Home Sweet Hell. Never saw that, so I can't make a comment on any of those. But apparently, I don't know what was going on. I was, too busy, or just went and saw other things because when you're don't have lots of money, you just pick and choose what stuff you spend your money on. And
On
that
the
was
third sentence of Jim Belushi's IMDb, the third sentence goes like this. The third of four children, his brother was comedian John Belushi. He grew up in Wheaton, Illinois. So they can't even go a full paragraph without mentioning the fact we really regret about John's death.
yeah.
And I'm sorry about that. I love John Belushi too, but this guy's never stood up and done his own real work. God, I hate saying that. I sound like such a dick.
Well, not really. The thing is, that's what we're supposed to do right now. We're supposed to talk about how we thought he did in this movie.
Yeah,
And
and in this movie, I agree with you. I think his role was pretty soulless in this movie. He's trying to
like
train or give some credence or
to
some
me, he was the sidekick to John Ritter.
yeah, he was Bob Wilson's sidekick.
Yeah, that's basically what his job was, and I guess he did okay, but he wasn't the only scene in this movie that I thought he did a really really good job for the character that he played was in the dominatrix scene where he uh he was actually funny, and it made me pay attention, like when she was spinning him and he was going round and round and he was screaming,
Like
uh and he kept saying, I like it, I like it. Oh, that hurts, that hurts, that hurts. And she goes, I hadn't even touched you yet. um just little things like when the scene where he puts him in the phone booth and they're having a shootout and nobody can shoot through the phone booth and kill them. I thought that was funny, but he said, you
yeah,
didn't cover me, and he goes, I only have two hands. You could tell they were trying to do Mel Brooks movie.
yeah,
Basically, to me it looked like they were grabbing every single cliche they could possibly think of that was in slapstick comedy, and they crammed it into this movie.
and it now that you've said that, it does feel like this movie was written by somebody who said, I have the perfect vehicle for Mel Brooks, and they never passed it on to him.
Well, the problem is it got turned down by Mel Brooks, and they already owned it. Because see, in the writing part for screenwriters, what happens is, I'll give you a story. There was a guy who was a starving artist. He wrote a script, and a producers read it and really liked the story, thought it had good potential, and said, "Hey, we will buy this script from you for $5,000. We'll give you cash, and then you can go on, and we own it. And we can do whatever we want with it." So he signed away his rights, and he took the cash. Well, then years later, the movie that they purchased and changed around and made a few changes to it, it was called The Santa Claus. And they made 3 movies from it and made buku dollars off of this script that this poor guy got shut nothing for, basically. It was his story. They took
$1,000 at the time, and It
And
wasn't workable.
that's like me. I write, and I've had people offer to buy my stuff, and I'm like, no, you're going to option it, or you're going to shelf it. And if they shelf it, that means they pay you cash to put it on the shelf, or it means you can't show it to anyone else. You can't market it in any way while they investigate places to film it, actors that might want to be in it, and producers that might want to pay to do your movie, right? And after a certain amount of time, if they decide they don't want it, you get to put your script back out there, and you get to keep the money because you shelved it for them. Or they can option it, which means, okay, you sign a contract, they option for you to help them finish the script, make changes or whatever, change it to the city or change it to the country or make it in the mountains or make it in another country, whatever. And you change the characters up. Maybe they want this person to be black or that person to be transsexual or gay or whatever. So you make your changes to your script, and then you get your name up there on the big screen, as big as the director's name as a screenwriter. And that's what most people really want, that are able to hold off and not, just sell their script outright. Okay. But there's different options that you have as a writer of how you want to do it. The only thing is, it's whether or not you can wait long enough, if you can wait around, or never sell your script. I mean, like the movie, The Dallas Buyers Club, the writer for that, it took them almost 20 years to get somebody to read their script. And guess what? It won an Academy Award. But they didn't just hand it over or sell it for a few $100s. I mean, when I was in New Orleans for this time when,
did you work in that movie?
Which movie?
The Dallas Buyers Club.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't do anything with that one. But
you've mentioned that movie about 3 times since we've started talking, and I realize you like that movie a lot, but I'm realizing now you admire the entire story of that film.
Well, I just like some of the aspects of the movie. I thought it, in a writer's perspective. But there was Will Smith was in New Orleans filming this movie. I can't even remember the name of it. It was about ripping off some guy using the Super Bowl or whatever. They filmed it out at Nassau and a bunch of stuff. It was a bunch of stuff going on. Well, during the time he was there, one of my friends approached me and said that Will Smith's group is having a contest. They're going to give $5,000 to the winner, and your script. If they choose your script, him or his son will star in it. Okay, so to me, it was a fishing expedition to see if they could find some new stories for those 2 actors. So I went to the meeting they had, and I read all the fine print, and it said right on the fine print that you have to basically sign the paperwork to put your script in there, but that if in the future you see a movie or you read another story or whatever that's similar to yours, that you can't sue them. So I just said, hell no, I ain't letting them touch mine. Anyone that reads any of my scripts have to sign a non-disclosure. I don't let anyone see it unless they sign paperwork that says they can't talk to anybody about my stuff and that I own it. So period, because I actually know a little bit about it, and I think the stories are good. And if there's going to be merchandise for sale or whatever, or a sequel or whatever.
Janet wants lunch boxes.
You know what I mean?
Janet wants to make lunch boxes, kids.
Well, none of my stuff has to do with that. Most of my stuff is thrillers and things like that. But what I'm saying is I can still eat. So I'm not, I'm not starving. If I end up lose everything, I might have to sell them. But, or my story, like the one I'm reading on my channel or whatever. But the thing is that I feel sorry for those people. And that's what it seemed like to me. It seemed like Jim was basically, and Ritter, both of them seemed like they were at the end of their contract or something. Because sometimes these people sign contracts to be in 1, 2, 3 movies for this one company. And once they fulfill that, they're out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So maybe they were on contract and they said, well, we need to get rid of these guys. We're ready to move on to something different. And let's just make this movie and throw them in it and get it done. That's what it seemed like to me. It seemed
I could see that. I could see where that would come into play because this movie has a very slap hazard assembly to it. The scenes
like Mel
don't
Brooks movie
they
without
don't
Mel,
set up.
because Mel Brooks actually makes them more entertaining, even though it's slapstick and stupid. You can't help but remember it, and they're classics now.
I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
I'm not saying I hate this movie,
No,
but
I hated
I
either. I laughed a lot. I thought it was lots of scenes were really funny.
I like the clowns getting shot scene. I know that sounds bad, and John Ritter going bang bang that made me sad on the inside. When I first saw it, I laughed, and then I'm like, that's Jack Tripper. That's a guy that you watched as you were a young man, turning into an adult, and you admired the way that he talked with people and the way that he dealt with things. And I mean, he was in one of my favorite movies of '89, which I'm going to throw a bone to you guys. I love the movie Skin Deep. The reason why I love the movie Skin Deep is that it's kind of about sex, and it's got Zap from American Gladiators in it. Yeah, baby. And she's kind of his main squeeze in that film. She does a really good job as an actress, and you get to see her being more than just an athletic bimbet on a TV show. And he played kind of like a player. And I'd never seen that in a John Ritter movie before. My dad and I, we watched that movie like 3 times together.
Yeah. But I mean, there was lots of scenes in this movie that I remember and that I thought were funny. I mean, like the one scene where in the dominatrix scene, I really enjoyed that. That was one of my very favorite scenes. And he said, "Don't I get a turn?" And she said, "This is your turn." Do you remember that line? Oh, I'm locked up again. Can anybody still hear me? Am I still on? Or is it Bruce that's still on? Okay. All right. Well, good. I'll just keep saying what I was talking about. Was the scene, the dominatrix scene in this movie is worth watching the movie for. I really love that scene. It was very good. Uh, I can't even explain everything about it, but uh, the woman in this movie, she looks horrendous, I think, with those big ugly glasses when he meets her at the bar. And then he talks her into, going meeting him later on, and he doesn't realize what he's getting himself into because she takes him to town, into the dominatrix town, if you know what I'm saying. So it was definitely worth it. That part was excellent, and I would definitely recommend it just for that part of the movie because I think everybody needs to experience at least one experience with dominatrix, with someone you trust at least. But I would definitely recommend it.
I
Oh,
came back at the right time.
back. He's back. I thought it was me. I was like, can anyone still hear me?
No, my the
It's
spectrum
always my
hiccup.
end that goes bad. Well, good. Yay. I'm glad it wasn't me this time. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, and I don't mean to beat on this movie too much. I'm recognizing that this movie is probably one of the final films these two guys had with United Artists, and that was probably at the end of a contract. Definitely wasn't marketed the way it should have been. Definitely wasn't given the treatment it should have been. Thank you, Multi Gun Man. And I like part of it. I like this movie more than I like The Cowboy Way. The Cowboy Way, I rate a 4. I rate that movie a 4, and I wish I didn't. Out of a 4 out of 10. And
Well, I don't think it was that low. I would give it at least a 6.
yeah,
Simply for the fact that I thought that John Ritter did a very good job on his character.
I would rate
His
this movie a
character.
6. This movie is a 6. Cowboy Way is a 4.
Yeah. Well, Cowboy Way, I give it a little higher just for the part. Everything was good except for when some of the parts in the city to me. Even when he was, like at the fancy schmancy party that he was invited to, where she was licking his neck and they were having a great old time doing shots together. I thought that was great. Him being on the billboard was awesome. Just a lot of that part of it I liked. The part where they were in the restaurant and they're eating their meal and he's licking the bottle and he sticks his tongue down the bottle and gets his tongue stuck in there and Sonny pulls it and it goes comes off his yeah, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And the girl that was playing the oboe or whatever it was.
Yeah, the oboe.
And she about fell out of her chair. I love that whole thing. I thought when they were playing actual cowboys and not fitting in, I loved it. I thought all of that worked really, really well. Even when he was up there dancing and being stupid in this giant lavish party for models. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really good. But it was when it came to the guy that took the woman, I just thought it was shit. I just thought that whole part of they should have left all of that out. If they'd left that out and just made it two awkward cowboys, like, what was it? Crocodile Dundee. Okay. It was a great movie. And it was all about a guy that's a cowboy from Australia that doesn't belong in the city, but he's in the city, and it's how he deals with what's going on in the city. Him sleeping on the floor and everything about it made it believable that you could believe the character and his character arc. But
I do love a good fish out of water story. I'm not going to say I don't.
John Ritter's character did that. He went from a wimpy, dum-dum, lonely, useless man that all he did was bring home a paycheck. Besides that, he did nothing. He was a lousy dad. He was just a total wimp. His wife was not impressed by him. He was just a wimp. And then he came back and he kicked everybody's ass. He showed his worth. His kids looked up to him, and his wife was like, "Rawr," she thought he was an animal now. So, everybody, he changed. But John's brother, or what's his name, Jim Belushi, didn't. He just stayed the dumb high school dropout character that I don't know. I just didn't like his character. His character was lame. It was like he was useless. He was a useless character just thrown in there to be a sidekick for John Ritter's character. There was a movie I saw. It was one of the Raiders of the Lost Ark when they put this dorky little Asian kid in it.
Temple of Doom?
Remember that one?
The Short Round. You're talking about Short Round from the Temple of Doom. His
character, to me, when I watched the movie, was so annoying because to me it seemed like he was just thrown in there to have a quirky, dumb sidekick. That was it, and he was a useless character. He did nothing besides nothing. His character meant nothing to the movie, except for a few laughs, cheap laughs, and but besides that, I thought the movie was really good. So I guess my perspective of it, but that's how I looked at James Belushi's character for this.
I wish I could enjoy James Belushi. I can't. And
I did enjoy the scene with the dominatrix. That was my favorite scene with him in it. It was really one of my very favorite scenes in this whole movie because it was. It really made me want to be in that scene. I don't know why. I wanted to be there because it was so fun. It looked like a really fun scene. I guarantee everyone that was working on that set laughed their butts off. And I would love to see outtakes from it.
I would love to see the outtakes from that scene at the very least.
Because I guarantee it was funny. And she was good looking. She went from a mousy, not attractive looking woman with giant Coke bottle glasses on to this hot dominatrix with a whip. She was cracking that whip. And she was fine. You didn't like that scene in the
movie? I was refraining on commenting from it because I am streaming with a lady and I have my wife in the other room and I talk loud.
You watched the movie with you?
She didn't watch it with me. She she saw the trailer and she walked out. So I watched this movie alone.
I would fast forward it to that scene and just play that scene for her and say, "Hey, would you be willing to want to do this?" And see what she said.
On your recommendation, one of these days that will happen, but because of our
Because-
honor, I will probably never tell you about it. You'll just have to see the bruising. So,
Oh, somebody said something. He said, "Janet, you are missing the whole point of the movie."
yeah, Shadow and Sun says you're missing the whole point of the film, and Belushi planned everything, and he trained very well the John
Yeah.
Ritter character.
Now, I do believe that part of it. That part where when he laid there on the ground after the fight with the clowns and let him build his character, making him feel like he's the one that came, saw, and kicked butt, and then passed out because he was a trained assassin or whatever. All of that little thing was good. It's just that to me, he didn't develop as a character. He was the same person when he first came on screen at the very beginning, and the same person when he went off screen at the end.
Yeah, Jim Belushi plays these characters that are mostly just kind of one-dimensional throughout the whole film, and he did this in the movie K-9, and he's done it in a lot of his other filmography. I don't really like him as an actor because he never does really try to vary himself. The new actor that does this a lot is called Dwayne Johnson, and he just kind of does the same thing where he plays this guy and everybody likes him, and that's why I don't watch The Rock.
He played the same character over and over. He played the same character in Doom as he played in the movie where he was on the river with that woman. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. Right,
I
this.
remember.
The movie with Jumanji, he was the same character that was in the movie Doom, basically.
Yeah.
His monotone voice, and stuff like that. And
he basically,
that's what Belushi did in this movie to me. He was the same character I've seen in a few other of his movies, but he didn't develop anywhere at all. And
so he did develop one thing. He did start an actual relationship with this not blonde.
With the good-looking bimbo. That's right. He did do that. I admit it.
I appreciated that part.
Fawning over her in the car.
After that scene, though, he couldn't shoot straight to save his life.
No, he was smitten. He was smitten for this woman.
She took his mojo.
Yeah, she zapped him. But that's good. That happens to every one of us in our lives. In real life, it does happen. We meet somebody, they sweep us off our feet, and then we can't count. You know, we're like gaga for a while, and then we slowly start to realize, okay, we're in a relationship now, and I got to get back to my life, you know, and start trying to do my normal thing and think for myself again. So that did, I guess that part I admitted. I told you guys, I said that the whole dominatrix scene was great. I thought he did a really good, believable character in that scene, because that is, I don't know, that type of humor I think he's really good at.
Yeah.
When it comes to, sexualized comedy or whatever, I think he does really good at when it comes to that kind of stuff.
We'll have to watch in the future a movie called, I can't think of the name of it now. The one that John Ritter and Zapp were in from 1989. We'll have to watch that and comment on that, because I think you would like that movie, and it's John Ritter in a new direction you haven't seen him do before, and it's a really good film as far as romantic comedies are concerned, because it took the condom and safe sex movement of the 80s, and it finally, like, we had other movies coming out at the time that were trying to treat the AIDS epidemic real, but this movie acknowledged it, and it's like, we're going to have fun. And they still gave you a laugh a minute. They still gave you a good, from what I remember, they still gave you a good time. And that's all I want when I watch a movie.
Animal House?
No. The movie I was talking about is a John Ritter classic, and that movie Let me scroll down to it. That movie is called Skin Deep.
Skin Deep. I don't think I've seen that movie. I'm gonna have to
You should. You should
look,
definitely watch
look
it.
that up because it sounds interesting.
It's a great movie. You've got John Ritter, Vincent Gardenia, Allison Reed's in it. She's not been in a lot of things. Julianne Phillips, Joel Brooks, Chelsea Field, which is Scott Bakula's wife, is in it, and it's just there's a whole bunch of really. Bo Foxworth is in it. Forgot about that. But there's a lot of people in this movie that it kind of took the sexual cues of the time and it tried to treat it seriously enough to where they gave you a good comedy. And so, he does play kind of an alcoholic in the film, but it's enjoyable, or it was for me when I watched it 3 times with my father because we laughed every time we watched it. John Ritter is a really good actor, and it hurts to say that he's no longer with us.
Yeah, that was the one thing when I was researching this that I was surprised that he was dead.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it, and that made me kind of feel bad because I'm like, so many people have died, and I've missed out on it because we're busy with our jobs and our things that are going on in our lives, and we miss out on a lot of this stuff because of it.
And I really, I don't know. I think whenever he passed, I was 28, and I just kind of like was stuck there for a second. I'm like, John Ritter died? Really? Now? He's my dad's age. What's wrong?
Yeah, he wasn't very old. How old was
before.
he? Like 50?
Yeah, 53,
Yeah,
somewhere around there.
he was young.
And he still had a lot of life left in him, but apparently not. And it really knocked me for a loop. And I was 5 when John Belushi died, and I ever since then I've made it my mission to watch a John Belushi film every 6 months because I really like John Belushi. And so I've seen his not so good movies like Continental Divide, and okay, well, let's watch Animal House next. So that's kind of like in my rotation every 6 months or so. And he's been in some great movies. The Blues Brothers. My dad and I, every time my dad and I get together, we watch the Blues Brothers. I don't know how that works, but the cable network will drop a Blues Brothers on the scrolling TV guide, and we'll be like looking for something to. Hey, Blues Brothers is on. Turn that on. And as we're watching the movie, we're saying the script aloud. We know that movie backwards and forwards. That movie I could talk to you all night about. That movie will be our 7-hour stream for like.
But one thing I noticed too about this movie was that popped in my head when Belushi was making all these contraptions because he was always like whipping different things, taking different tools and putting things together, weapons and different things like that. And it was like he was like a MacGyver type character. So there was things that they could have made his character more
resilient,
professional, more
professional,
realistic for his character. But instead, they made it more like I don't know, thrown together. Like they made him talk through the whole thing instead of pausing while he's doing this and that and showing more of a professional point of view. But I guess they didn't want that because, just like I said, to me, it seemed like they were trying to take whatever they could and throw it in there like they would a Mel Brooks movie or something, to get as much slapstick comedy in there as they could. And to me, that took away from Belushi's character. Does that make sense?
Very, very good sense.
Because that was one of the things I had a hard time with, was that I wanted to like him more, but little things like that kept pulling me back, from it. I don't know. I just thought that I just had a very hard time um, to deal with that part of it, because to me it was like they were trying so hard to make you laugh that you couldn't laugh. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to, I'm struggling to try to figure out how to explain that part of it.
And it makes it hard to discuss it because the movie, you can see where they want to go with it, and they want to have the panache of Mel Brooks and the director of photography be able to snap all the comedic elements and all this stuff. But then you have these things that pop up, like the Rube Goldberg designs and all the little inventions and all the devices he uses. And they could have gone in a MacGyver sense. They could have treated his character a little more seriously, and it still would have. They still could have had some funny parts in it. But this movie kind of just really doesn't, because they don't have a budget, and it feels like they filmed it in like 10 days. They're
Yeah,
just
it was very thrown together feeling, and it was very, like you said, it was like they were trying to make a movie of the week on TV than a movie at the movie theater.
Yeah, and I hate to say that about a movie that I was recommended to see, but this is one of those movies that you watch and you're like, ugh.
But it wasn't one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I
No,
mean,
it wasn't.
it didn't make me want to get up and walk out. I kept waiting. The only thing is I kept waiting for something different to happen with Belushi's character. Like, I don't know.
I expected that too, and I was hoping he would turn into somebody else than Jim Belushi. I was hoping he'd turn into an actor in this film. And it never.
He was a good
never
actor.
happened.
It's just that he didn't have much to work with. That's how I looked at it. Because he definitely worked well. I mean, the comic relief part of it, of being in the with the blonde girl, I thought was really good. And there was a couple things here and there that I thought he did pretty good with.
Yeah.
But he just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed like he was void.
Was he distracted, or did he not like John Ritter? I mean,
No, I don't see that. I think some of the outtakes, if you could see the outtakes in this movie, I guarantee there was a lot of people laughing and shit.
I hope so.
Because I think another thing is, I think if they would have let Belushi have a little more leeway on, what's that word? When they just spurt
Just
things
ad-lib.
out. Yeah,
just go off. Just do your thing, Jim.
I've seen him in a few things where later on I found out the parts that he did get to ad-lib were way funnier than what was actually on the script. So if they would have let him have a little more leeway in that aspect, John Ritter too, I guarantee he got to ad-lib a lot more than Belushi got to.
Yeah.
Because you can tell on his show on TV and some of the things that they did, that when he was able to leave the parts in where, it was ad-libbing, it's just more natural, and it flows more natural, and it's, it just comes across as funnier. It's a spontaneous type thing. And that's why I really think that the scene he was in with the woman, that you can tell he gets along with pretty girls. And I think that he definitely is a ladies' man, and he probably does a lot of flirting and things like that. So I think that the scenes that he had with the women seemed to flow better from Belushi's point of view, because he felt more, I don't know. I just think he seemed more relaxed and stuff when he was in those type of scenes. And that's why it came across to me as more believable, I guess. Maybe that's what it was. But if I could have seen a little more of him just letting himself be himself, it probably would have been a lot better than some of the scenes that it was.
I hope so. There's parts of this movie that I like. And there's parts of this movie that I really struggled to watch. And like I got a lot of figures done the night that I watched this movie. And I
What
mean,
what scenes did you feel like were real? You know, like his worst scenes in the movie that you thought was really bad.
I thought actually the initial portion of the movie when they're trying to set up John Ritter as the bumbling beta male, and he
Yeah,
goes over to the garage to have a few words with the neighborhood toughs. And instead of him talking to teenagers, he's talking to like some grown ass men. And I thought, four grown ass men in a garage stealing kids' bikes is this in the script? Is this supposed to be like this? They had no teen actors for this role. And I would
yeah,
have thought that role would have that action scene would have worked a lot better with younger actors beating up on John Ritter. And then after he gets his butt handed to him, he wakes up on a couch, and I'm thinking, did he get drug inside? Did he get beaten up, or is he getting ready to be fricasseed? I mean, what's going on here? And the scene takes a minute to get rolling because he's got to get his bearings, and I'm at home, I'm taken care of. How'd you get away from the four tough guys in the garage? They would have elbowed you with slow elbows to death because apparently you can't fight. And
yeah.
I really that that part there was already on a downslope for me, and it took up until the point where they fought the clowns. I was not enjoying this movie.
But see, that was where to me it took the real bad downturn because
Yeah,
to me, as soon as the clowns came in and then he started talking to Belushi started talking about them being like some of the top notch Russian agents.
yeah. That I mean,
They
when
just
Jim
flew
Belushi
over
was
the
talking, the movie was
I,
bad.
I laughed, but I wasn't laughing because the movie was funny. I was laughing about how stupid the whole thing, the whole scene with the Russian clowns was just too stupid for me to even take serious, even as in a movie. I just thought that scene was terrible. I mean, I just thought it
I
was
agree.
really bad. I just thought that was a really bad scene. That was my worst scene in the movie.
I wanted to stop watching it at one point, and then finally the clowns happen, and I'm like, okay. And for some odd reason, that scene just hit me funny because I just like watching clowns get shot, I guess, and I enjoyed that. And then I on a rewatch, I'm watching the special effects they were using, the front mat for the baseball for whenever he's showing that we're dealing with aliens. And I
Yeah.
was looking at it from a technical standpoint of how was the movie made, and that was where all the script holes really popped up for me. But when John Ritter got a chance to act, I like that. When James Belushi was tied up with a dominatrix and she steals his mojo, I hate to say it, but I really like that too. I thought that was good. That was a very funny aspect of the movie because up to that point, the guy was like putting his gun behind his hip basically and shooting with his eyes closed and knocking people out, putting them dead. You know, he's just the unstoppable killing wind up CIA soldier, and it it was funny. But once he met his new wife, you know, he's kind of infatuated with her. He can't do his job to save his life. He's too worried about what's going on in this other world, you know. But he's what's this woman going to do with me? You know, I can't wait to see what she does to me next. And it affected him that badly. And I thought they just need to throw that line in there just to explain why he's such a piss poor CIA agent right now, because he was really good up until he met her. And now, you know, now Bob's becoming the big, or Nick's becoming the big star. And I was happy for John Ritter because he had a good arc, he had a good character, he had a worthwhile story.
I was reading what Shannon Woodson had just wrote. You missed it in the clowns were the CIA. Nothing has changed.
No, nothing's changed on
That
that.
is the truth right there for sure. But
I
but
gotta ask, would
I know it
you?
was a comedy. I know this was a comedy, but um, when the part came out where he was finally being told what um, the truth was behind the reason that they needed him. Okay, they never
Mhm.
really told him the truth about why he was the one they needed to make the delivery of the map, right?
Yeah, they
So
didn't tell that.
that I had a hard time with that because this guy was probably going to die doing this. Okay, but they
Mhm.
never did have the balls to tell him why they needed him to do it. And then when they told him about the alien thing, I thought it was a joke. Okay, when he was telling them, until he took his pen and he put it through the baseball,
Yep.
and then the ball flew around a little bit and then flew off. That
Yes.
was pretty awesome looking. I really got into that. So to me, that perked me back up again to try to figure out, um, you know, wow, that it was almost like Men in Black or something, in my mind.
It felt like a Men in Black comic book.
Yeah, that part of it, it just seemed like I kept waiting for more scenes like that one, that which never came. You know what I mean?
No,
So
they never did.
even the ending where he got to give the glass of water from the tree, that out in
Yeah.
the middle of nowhere, they open a tree and it's got a water dispenser. I mean, that's what I'm talking about when I said it reminded me so much of a Mel Brooks type movie. Like the Holy Grail,
Mhm.
just some of the things that happened in it was like they were trying to take Mel Brooks comedy and cram it into this movie to make it better.
And they could have succeeded a lot better if they would have actually used a better working script, I think. And if they would have had more time and budget, this movie could have been more than what it is. As it is for me right now, it's a 6. It's enjoyable. And then the funny thing is that the aliens just want a glass of water. That's all they wanted. The aliens come from across time and space. They don't want to know about the secrets of the Manhattan Project. They don't want to know, like, hey, we want to start a breeding program with you. We understand your women are hot. They don't, none of that. They want
That's
just
another
a glass of
aspect
water.
of it being a Mel Brooks type movie was the glass of water. Little things like that is what to me kept saying, like, there you might as well put a big neon sign that says Mel Brooks, Mel Brooks, Mel Brooks. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like they were taking everything. They went into their garage and they started grabbing everything and throwing it into the swimming pool. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was like they were mixing all this stuff in it to see if there was something, because there has to be something in it that makes you laugh. And I guarantee that every person that watched it laughed at something, because there was tons of funny stuff in it. It was like uh, the Three Stooges, and then you had um, Gallagher. You just take all these different people, John Candy, and you throw them in there, and you got a mixture of different comic lines and comic actors and plots, different slapstick. You got all this different stuff, and they're cramming it into a big basket and walking around, to make a movie out of it. And that's basically what it was. If they did have a better script, it probably would have been better. It was like they had, 20 minutes to throw something together on a piece of paper, and they just started working from it or something. It just seemed rushed. Um, it just seemed like they had two actors. They need to make a movie, and they just crammed a bunch of stuff into a script and gave it to them. To me, so I would give it a 5. This movie a 5.
I gave this movie a 6, an honest 6, because I watched it twice and I saw some things in it the second watch that I really enjoyed. I really like practical effects. If you can't tell, I'm a big miniature guy, but I really enjoy when you have a scene that goes on camera and you want to see the making of, you want to see how they did that. And I thought it was a very well done scene when he jams his pin with a baseball. And
Yeah,
then
the scene was
he
good.
says, "Oh, I only had one of those. We have to show you what's going on. That way you get it and you understand. And now you're on our side." I thought parts of the script were written by a 37 or 40-year-old man that he had some spurts of imagination that were left, and he's getting to it. But the rest of the movie felt like they were getting to certain parts and they just needed to fill time for 85 minutes to get to these parts. And that's why I rate it as low as a 6, not a 7, not a 9, not a 10. Um, do you have anything else you want to say about this movie before we go on to our other topic, which I want to introduce?
Um, hmm. No, not really. I just, to me, if you're gonna watch, you want to see some comedy and you want to see something funny, and you just want to have a good chuckle, then if you watch this movie and you fast forward it to the
Dominatrix.
dominatrix scene, I think
Yeah.
you can really enjoy it. I did. It rejuvenated me when that whole scene came on. I was like, I really liked it, and I got back into it, and then I started paying a little more attention, to trying to root for John Ritter to be successful. Because I kept thinking, this is what I was thinking, um, that it was going to come back around in the scene at the very beginning. He faked his death when he laid on the ground to make them make sure that he got the right map or something. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking that was going to happen or something, because I was trying to find some kind of plot twist or something to make the movie a little more I don't know, entertaining, or I don't know. I was searching for something that never happened. That's basically how I felt about the movie. I kept searching for something different, and it never did come to fruition.
This movie does fulfill the something different pretty well for me. Um, like I said, I gave it a 6, and we had some things happen here in Texas a while back. I want to get into this uh, topic here because I've got Janet with me tonight, and I really value her opinion. I've heard her on Drew's United Resistance stream a couple times, and uh, I'm going to be greedy, Janet, and be like, "While I have you here, let's discuss the developments in the Uvalde Robb Elementary School shooting, if you want to."
Well, I just think the whole thing is very sad, and it's very I don't know. It's very suspicious for me. All of these certain things that are happening when it comes down to the guns part of it, aspect of it, and who has these guns and what they're doing with them. And then also when something does happen and a person like you or me steps up with their gun to defend people, and the news and everybody plays it down when somebody does do the right thing. uh, to me, it shows an agenda. It doesn't show what the news should be showing, which is just the facts, and letting us, form an opinion from the actual facts about what's going on. It seems like they're feeding us what they want us to know, not what we should know. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. It feels like this entire event. To give you guys a time frame of the Robb Elementary School shooting, this all happened during a week that Davos was in session, and so we already had like 2 or 1 day already set up with news and fringe news groups talking about how Pfizer CEO wants to have the American population or have the world population cut it in half by the end of 2023. And they were talking about doing that with vaccines. And then you have people like Carl Schwab bragging about how you have infiltrated with their puppet into the country of Canada with Justin Trudeau, and he's saying all this stuff out loud, and all this stuff is being said out loud, and the reporters are talking about what's being discussed at Davos, and not all of them are giving the CNN swallow, where they blow the people that are here at Davos. We got to suck the dick of the elites. Instead, you've got Rebel News and Savannah from the Blaze. You have a bunch of other people there watching and taking note of what's going on. And you have this gunman go into Texas school, and he's a young kid, but he's got 2 long rifles that he supposedly saved up for all of his life. And he gets into a room and he starts putting people in the dead book. And you have kids texting and trying to call 911 saying how many are left in the room still. Well, the remainder of this entire situation, like there's no urgency in this whatsoever. Once they realize where the kid's at,
sanitizer.
Yeah.
If they go down the hallway, the whole time the gun's going off and people are screaming and people are dying and they're standing around doing nothing. There's 20 guys there. All they do is run down the hallway, run in. They have vests on, and they could have had shields in front of them and take the guy out. But they didn't. It was like the whole thing was a setup. They sent in a group of dum-dums that didn't know what the hell they were doing.
We call them cosplayers.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, it was pathetic. The whole thing was pathetic. And I think every single parent who had a child in this school should sue the shit out of this city, all these cops, every one of them, because this should be made an example, because something like this should never, ever happen. Because they wouldn't let the parent go in to save their own kid, but yet they didn't even try to save them. It was like they were keeping them back so that the guy could kill as many kids as they could before anybody got in there. That's what it looked like to me.
And this is a ranch right outside Uvalde. Been there once already. Really nice place to go. Lots of fun. This is the culture that Uvalde has, actually. Uvalde is a town that I recognize has really good taquerias. They've got good food there. They have some nice people in the oil and gas industry. Then you have this group of vets at drivetanks.com, where you go and you spend like $10K for your 5 or 6 person group to go ride around in a tank, and somebody gets to go pull the main trigger gun. The main gun gets to be fired. I mean, where else are you going to do that, And so this for me is like, when I heard Uvalde was having a problem, I'm like, oh God, this is near and dear to my heart. Thank you, C&J Energy Services, for the opportunity that I had there. And I just got to say that watching all of this go down, and then we have this garbage, where the facts are being released, and the sheriff on duty is not, or the chief of police, the chief of school police or security, whatever the fuck it is. This is all they do for 70 minutes. They stack outside a fucking hallway. And meanwhile, there's kids texting, there's only 8 of us left. There's only 7 of us left. For 70 minutes. One of the cops, whose wife is in there, a teacher, the cop says, I'm going in. I'm going to save her. They tackle him, take his firearm away, and detain him. When I say detain him, I mean they physically restrain him from going in.
Well,
he wasn't the only one.
I guarantee you, when all this starts coming out, that people are going to start leaking like sieves. People that knew that they were told to stand down or whatever, just like what happened overseas when Hillary and Obama and them were charged, when somebody was sent in to take out the people that were in that embassy.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't let anybody go in there and do anything to stop it, because for whatever reason, those people needed to be taken out because they knew something they shouldn't know, or they had some proof or something. Because that isn't what our government's supposed to do to our people. I mean, the whole thing of them abandoning Afghanistan. I mean, leaving tanks, millions of dollars in property that belongs to us, of people hanging on the planes and falling from the sky, and now we've got dead kids laying everywhere, and parents that weren't allowed to go in and do anything to save their kid. All of this reeks of a setup. This whole thing is a setup to try to take our weapons from us. And the sad fact is they had to murder a bunch of children to do it.
Yep.
And
Today
that
on the
that
morning
to
radio,
me, and I pray to God that the truth comes out, that somebody in that group of people that we just saw standing in the hallway will leak, because they see dead kids in their face every day in their dreams, and they're going to leak and tell the truth and give us.
You're awful nice.
I mean, that's what I pray. I pray for that, because that's sad. It just breaks my heart, and I feel so bad for all the family members who lost loved ones, teachers, children, and the children that did live that have to remember this for the rest of their life. What they saw that day.
It's just this entire situation screams like it's a false flag, and the more that comes out about it, the more that's being discussed, the more I'm seeing that this was an obvious attempt. They wanted us to feel sorry for the shooter, but we don't know the kids' names. We don't know the teachers' names. You have to go and seriously do some research to find out who died in May 2022 at Robb Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother of the shooter says, "I'm really surprised about this. I love my son, and I'm surprised he did this." And I'm thinking, he shot his grandmother. Before he did this, he shot his nana, okay? What type of twisted, sick fuck hurts their grandmother? I don't understand this at all.
There was somewhere, the kid that did this shooting was reported in 2019 for having weapons and knives and stuff, and one of his family members called the police and reported it, and they went in and took all his weapons and everything. So he was already on the radar in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was being told.
To me, that's why I think it's an inside job, where our CIA or FBI or a combination of people from our government coddle these people. They follow them. They send them the right information and things that they need to know to keep their fire burning, or whatever you want to. They make it easier for them to be able to get guns, weapons, knives, whatever else they need to be able to end up snapping, because they don't know. I don't think they know exactly when they're going to snap, but they give them somehow. They're giving them information to make them think, well, if you did this on this day, or you did this on that day, those would be the best times to do it, because it would be a government a flag or whatever. Just like the guy that dyed his hair orange and went to the movie theater and shot all those people. And then you had that same guy, isn't he the same guy that shot that one state representative whose husband was an astronaut or something?
Yes.
Okay. And he was like a Democrat himself. And more of it comes out that these are more like the people that are Antifa people, people that believe in Antifa. They say they're anti-fascist, but yet everything they do is fascism.
It's all fascism.
Because these poor people don't know what fascism is. They don't know what a real Nazi is. These are the same kids that run around wearing Che Guevara shirts, thinking that, and they're black. And
he was a freedom fighter.
And he hated black people. He thought black people should all be killed because they were useless. And I feel sorry for these kids. And these young people growing up thinking these things are good, or that they're going to help, or that these are the bad guys and this is how you fight it, all simply because they're not educated properly by who these people really are. When I see young people wearing these outfits and stuff, bathing suits and T-shirts and stuff with people like the leader of Cuba and Chase
and all that
and
other crap.
all these other people, Stalin and all these characters on it, and they got Charles Manson on their clothes and all this stuff. What do we think their minds are going to be? I mean, if they're walking around with these people on their shirts, it's like, they're wearing a billboard showing, hey, look at me, I'm a nut. I'm way out here.
But it's the truth.
I
They
know
are way out there.
I know, but
Anybody who reads history,
that nobody is saying we got to help these kids. We got to help these young people understand that what they're saying is wrong. That is, I don't know. If I was the mother of this kid, I would be sitting down trying to explain, honey, you don't understand that this is the real documents. These are the real papers. Read this. This is real. This is history. That's why they're wiping history out. They're getting rid of statues. They're taking books out of the libraries. They're taking stuff off the line so that people don't know the real history of what happened in our country. I mean, you have to know the bad stuff. Why we had the Civil War, all the things that we did that were bad. If you don't know your history, then you're going to repeat the terrible stuff that you did, because you don't even know that who did it and why they did it. The Democrats don't even talk about the fact that the Democrats were the ones that started the KKK. It wasn't that many years ago. Hillary and Joe Biden are standing on a float with the leader, and nobody thinks about it. Nobody's even talks about it or wants to admit it. I mean, what happened to these people? How could these people be this blind that they're willing to kill their brothers and sisters on the street that grew up in the same town they grew up in, probably went to the same school, and did without shoes and did without new clothes, did without meals? They're the same people and they grew up in the same town, but they're willing to kill each other simply because they think that Antifa is a good thing because they've been told it was by whoever. And every time they say a tweet or whatever on Instagram that this, that, and the other about this, they say, oh, yeah, you're a great guy because you believe that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're getting praised for lies. They're getting praised and told that they're helping a cause when they're being lied to the whole time. Okay? And that's sad. That breaks my heart to think that we have hundreds of thousands or millions of people that have been brainwashed to thinking that Antifa really is against fascism. When if you watch everything they do is fascist.
They're only fascists. That's their entire modus operandi.
I know, but their name doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't. That's
when
like
you have
going
a
to
young
discount
person
tire
that I'm going to go fight the Nazis and I'm going to go do this and do that. They don't know what they're talking about. They're going in half cocked because they're filled with hormones, okay, raging hormones, and all they want to do is release tension or whatever, and they're doing it because of an agenda that they don't even know what the agenda is, but they're doing it because the guy next to them is doing it. It's like a mob of people. They're all grabbing pitchforks that are laying on the ground and going and stabbing people, and they don't even know why they're stabbing them because their friends are stabbing them.
That's it.
Pulling people out.
That's the entire thing.
With rocks or bashing. You watch it. Like in New York, you got a person that walks by and punches a little old lady in the face. She falls on the ground. Then you got 3 or 4 more of them come up and they're kicking her and stomping on her and taking her bag and doing all this stuff. And she didn't do anything. She just trying to go to the store or wherever, to the pharmacy, whatever. She didn't do anything, but because her skin color wasn't what they liked, or she looked like she had money, or she looked like she had a nicer purse than the other person down the road, they take it out on her. Or whoever was in the street, a mom with a kid pushing her in the cart, anything. It's just sad that they think that, I don't know what they think, because nobody talks to these people. Nobody interviews them why they're stealing stuff off the shelves. It's not
No.
because they're starving, because they're wearing $900 Nike sneakers, so they're not without food. You know what I'm saying? I know people, and I grew up with them down the street when I was in school that got one pair of shoes a year, and their toes and shit would be hanging out of it by the time Christmas came for them to get a new pair of shoes. And they lived in a trailer, and they get up at the crack of dawn, and they'd have to go out and haul wood for the pulp company that makes paper down the road before they could go to school, because they had to bring money into their home to help their parents be able to pay their bills. You know, that's the kind of people I grew up with. My mom, when she was a little girl, she picked cotton to make money for her family, and they sold vegetables on the side of the road in a little vegetable cart. You know, stuff like that. And my grandpa could barely read, and he shoot horses for a living. Okay, every summer I would come to Arkansas and in Texas, wherever they lived, or Oklahoma, depending on the three places they lived, and I would get to visit him and go with him and spin a little auger to keep it heated up so he could make shoes for horses. And he didn't have much. I mean, they had a tin roof on their house. They had an outhouse until I was almost a senior in high school. They had nothing. That's poor. And then today you got people that are they say they're poor and they have $900 cell phone. I mean, it's just
have television I have.
I really feel sorry for these people because they really do not know what they're talking about, and no one in their life cares enough about them to teach them anything, to teach them the truth, to show them and let them see the truth, and then let them make up their mind from that. They're going totally on emotions of what their friends tell them because that's all they have in their life.
All they've got. And their friends aren't that well knowledgeable either. We're lacking we have a society where we don't mentor people.
Nobody wants to be involved. I mean, you can be walking down the street and someone's beating the shit out of somebody and people just hurry by as fast as they can, or they pick up their cell phone and take video and post it on Facebook. That's the caring people that we have. And then when it's their turn and they're getting beaten and robbed, they're begging people to help them, but no one's going to help them because that's exactly what you just did to them yesterday.
Exactly.
Okay. So I would get killed because if I'm walking through the parking lot of the grocery store or something, some guy beating a little old lady or something like that, I'm either going to get murdered because I'm going to go over and try to help, or I'm going to be shot because I'm calling 911. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But I can tell you right now, or I'd be whipping out my own weapon.
And guys, I'm just going to let you know, Janet will position her camera when she does her workouts to be above her, so you think she's a shorty. She's not a shorty. She's like 5'10".
I'm 5'8". I'm 5'8". I'm not.
She's taller than me. Okay, I'm like comics division height. I'm really short. So like.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw Comics Division. In some of the videos, I was like, wow, he looks like a big biker dude sitting behind the desk.
He's not. He's a very mild-mannered, very respectable looking guy, but he's small like me. I mean, I'm beefy, but I'm 5'6". But he's got a medium build, and it just happens to be how that is. You know, he's a very short man, and Janet is no, she's not a Viking woman, but she could be.
Yeah, 5'8" isn't Viking. I'd say if I was like 5'11" or 5'10", maybe you could say that, but I'm just 5'8". But with heels, I'm pretty tall.
Yeah. After we get done talking about Uvalde here, and the other part about Uvalde is that the school shooter kid, he was kind of ridiculed by his peers a little bit, not really quote unquote bullied, but they called him school shooter online, and he had this nickname for over a year, so we kind of know what's going to go on here. And the kid had a manifest. He had a desire to do this for a while, and this is just some reason. You know, I'm going to say like, you know, homeschooling might be the best option for us. You know, if we ever have, our daughter here, or if we ever have, a child here, homeschooling sounds better than letting the child go to school. But I'm just saying that the after hearing everything, after hearing all the missteps in Uvalde, this is obviously this is a Alex Jones moment where you have an obvious amount of evidence pointing to a mysterious situation that ended in tragedy, and it could have been taken care of. The Uvalde cops, up to this point, have been calling them cosplayers,
Yeah.
and I I call people that because they want to be something, but they're really just actors or bad actors sometimes. Yesterday in Indianapolis, a good guy with a gun, 22-year-old man. Just think about this. Everybody in the chat, where were you when you were 22? Now, lava Lord, I know you're like 14. I get it. But when you were 22, guys, you had a hard on when you woke up. You didn't know what you were doing tonight. You might gonna go out. You probably drink a few beers with your friends, or go to work, or finish up class. This character in Indiana had a concealed carry pistol on him, and at the food court at a shopping mall, this food court turns into a bloodbath. Further tragedies prevented at an Indiana mall Sunday when an armed Good Samaritan took action against an active shooter and became the real hero of the day. Around 6 p.m., the Greenwood Park Mall in Greenwood, Indiana, an unidentified suspect described only as an adult male was said to have entered the food court and opened fire on patrons. 5 victims were wounded, 3 of them fatally, before a 22-year-old good guy with a gun from Bartholomew County shot the suspect, killing him before any more innocent lives were lost, according to NBC News. And this is on BizPackReview.com. Let me get this in the chat so you guys can check this out. Okay, so Greenwood Police Chief James Ison explained that it appears the suspect had a rifle with several magazines of ammunition, entered the food court, and began shooting before he was stopped when a Good Samaritan that was armed observed the shooting in progress and shot the shooter. The real hero of the day is a citizen that was lawfully carrying a firearm in the food court who was able to stop the shooter almost as soon as it started. He restated to the press late Sunday night. You have a few tweets out there about this. Panicked witnesses from within the mall described the chaos, having heard probably about 20 rounds fired, triggering a stampede, suggesting how much worse the situation could have become if the as yet unidentified 22-year-old to stop the suspect had not taken action. Mark Wright, an
Actual hero.
Say again?
So he's an actual hero.
Yeah, he is. An employee at the food court, Mark Wright, said, as soon as we heard shots popping off, there's 20 to 30 my guys all at the deck. It was a scary situation. I've got some new kids working, and they were kind of traumatized by it. I'd never expected this here at the mall. It was chaos, Mark Tilbury described as eyewitnesses' account from the food court. It was like an animal kingdom in there. We ran out the doors at every exit. We had people going into locked gates, putting them in the back of the stores. Of the other 2 victims injured in the shooting, one remained hospitalized, but the other 12-year-old girl was released, having only suffered abrasions during the incident. Well, that's good. The Indiana governor, Eric Holcomb, signed a carry law earlier this year that went into effect July 1st and released a brief statement regarding the shooting. I'm monitoring the ongoing investigation in Greenwood, where Indiana State Police are assisting local authorities. Lives were lost today. I'm thinking about all the victims of this horrible incident now and in the days and weeks to come. Meanwhile, as corporate media attempted to downplay the actions of the 22-year-old hero who stepped in to stop the shooting, social media users gave credit where credit was due and disabused the narrative of the Good Samaritan in favor of the good guy with the gun. And that being tweeted out here. Good guy with a gun again. Tweet. Central Indiana. This is a BizPack Review is kind of like a good political I won't say good political. They're a right of center political house for publishing. Think of them as like you're bounding into comics for your regular material. And I compare them to Bounding Into Comics because Janet will be with Bounding Into Comics Drew Taylor tomorrow night. Janet, what do you think about that story?
I think it's great that it even got any airtime at all, because the people that are in charge right now don't want anyone like him to stop anybody from doing anything that's chaos. And I'm hoping that we, other people like me that are card carrying gun owners, because I have an advanced concealed carry, and I hate the fact that I might end up having to use my weapon to save someone, but I will. And if something like what happened in Washington State with the Summer of Love or whatever it was they were calling it, you know what I mean? When they started,
communism was tried there. Come on,
and they were stealing and burning and hurting people for fun or whatever their reasons were, because the city was full of Nazis or something. I don't know what their reasoning was behind it, but I will pull my weapon and risk going to prison for the rest of my life to save people that I'll probably never ever meet if I did save them, or try to save them, or die trying to save people, because that's what I believe. I believe that good people should try to be good and do the right thing. And if I see someone trying to do something wrong and hurt other people for no reason, I definitely will try to step in and stop them.
That's really what it's all about. We talk about it in a few different auditoriums I'm in, a few different videos, streams I'll be at. We talk about how you have to be a deciding factor. Are you going to go somewhere and be ready? Should evil visit you on your front doorstep, are you going to be ready to respond in kind and defend yourself and try to preserve your family and friends? And that's something that I think is really important. And a lot of people don't make that conscious decision. They have been advertised and marketed too much that guns are scary. And we need to take that back. Guns are what made the nation. Guns are the reason why we have the 4th of July. We have a society that should not fear guns, but should embrace them as tools, just as a mechanic embraces a wrench or a socket set. These are tools. These are guarantee that you will have a chance if in case the worst does happen. You at least had the option of being armed and possibly being able to respond in kind should the worst happen to you wherever you may be. And that's one reason why you always see me fiddle with these things. Not that I am a gun bunny or anything, but I do like my 12 and my 7.62 launcher. I really like these things, and it's a way for me to make sure that if I have to be in a bad spot, that I can at least state my piece, and possibly preserve my life and the lives of those around me. An armed society is a very polite society, and I wish more people would get back to that. And I think once we wake up out of this malaise that we are in, and I'm going to call it a malaise because it feels like we are in the middle of one right now. It feels like the 70s are repeating themselves. I wasn't around for much of consciously around for what was going on with Carter, but I read too much of what Carter did, and this is worse by every aspect. And Carter, as much as I don't like Jimmy Carter, he is so much more of a man, so much a better president than the potatoes sniffus could sniffus potatus could be. And I don't understand where anybody thought this was going to be a good idea. I don't.
Well, if you think about it from certain people's point of view, it is a good idea, because if you can implode the United States from the inside, out and weaken us from inside because you pit us against each other. It's like I was saying in school, you got a kid that goes to school or lives in the same town, uh, and with the other kids that are in the same demographic as them, which means they go without, they get picked on by the richer kids, that type of thing. But you only have one of them that seems to break down in society and chooses to do something horrible to the other people in the community. And what's sad is they end up hurting people that have nothing to do with the problems that they seem to have. Instead of taking it out on the person that's hurting them, they take it out on total innocent people.
Yeah.
That is a sign of a psychosis. That's a sign of uh, that they definitely have problems. Okay, because they're not comprehending for sure who it or what it is that they want to target or want to get revenge on, or whatever their reason is behind it. But if the person has a manifesto, that definitely doesn't mean it wasn't a planned, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
He
a
had an agenda.
person that puts weapons in their vehicle, and they put ammo in their vehicle, and then they put in armor to wear, gloves to wear, a map or a list of things that they want to do beforehand. All that all shows intent. Okay, they're intending to do something. That doesn't mean they know exactly where they're going to go to do it, but it means they intend to do harm to someone. So somebody knew that they bought the ammo. Someone knew that they had the weapons. Somebody had to have known that they had the armor. They had wrote things on their uh, website
Outline
that they
blog
want.
or whatever.
So when they always go back, it's there. And I don't know how many times I've reported different things that I've seen that was suspicious. Uh, Either calling the police or reporting it on a website or reporting a tweet or whatever it was. I mean, I've been in trouble for saying stuff. Somebody said that I told someone to kill themselves or whatever, and they investigated it and they found it unwarranted, and I got my account back. Yeah, I got mad because I thought it was un-American or whatever for them to put a muzzle on me. But if them putting a muzzle on me makes them put a muzzle on that jerk down the road that really does have intent, well, then I can handle a muzzle for a few hours while they're looking into it, like an investigation with the police do. I can handle that for a few hours. I mean, if it's going to stop that guy, but it's when they only put muzzles on some people and not others, even though they're showing intent to do something, then that's when the society is breaking down because they're not doing it to everyone or to everyone that shows intent. They're just doing it to the people they don't like or the people that disagree with them. And that's not right either. Because I know a lot of liberals and people that don't agree with me at all that I could tell you right now, they would defend the person next door to them, even though, you know, their point of view is way different than mine. I can tell you right now, they would go out and try to help them if there was a fire, or they would, do things. So there are people that have a totally opposite point of view on a lot of things when it comes to the government. That doesn't make them a bad person and they want to hurt people. It just means they have a different point of view than I do. But there's people out there that do want to hurt people, and people have to stand up and realize that when you notice something or your hair on the back of your neck stands up because of something this person said or did, then you need to keep an eye on them. And as soon as you think there's something fishy going on, tell somebody, because you telling somebody might stop something bad from happening. And see, that's the thing. We never hear about those incidences. Just like you said, that guy pulled a weapon out and he saved a bunch of people's lives, because there could have been 50 people wounded and murdered instead of just 5 people that were wounded and 3 dead, right?
Yeah, it could have been a lot of people that got killed.
It could have been a lot worse. Now, it's sad the fact that 3 people died and anyone was injured, but that young man having the weapon on him and his concealed carry or whatever, and then having the wherewithal to pull his weapon and use it to stop him from hurting anyone else. That's rare. Think about it. We have 300 and something million people in the United States, and there's a shit ton of those people that own guns. Well, how many people are murdered every day? Hundreds, but not millions.
But the thing is that
millions of people have weapons, and they're not out running around just blowing people away. And that's what they want you to think. They want you to think that every single person that's in their house right now that has a gun, that went and took a class or went to a place and bought a weapon and filled the paperwork out, that we're all sitting there waiting for our turn to go kill people. That's how they come across on the news. And they want everyone to be afraid of their neighbor that has a gun because they're going to come to your house and kill you. That's what they want. But it's just the opposite. Okay. Every person, you might have 1,000 people on this one road, and 90% of them all have a gun in their house. But are there that many people being murdered on that street? No. Because most people that own weapons own them because they respect what a weapon is used for. That's the difference. It's the few people that disrespect people are the ones that hurt people with their weapons.
That's the thing. I mean, the NRA has millions of members. The Firearm Policy Coalition, the Gun Owners of America, have thousands of members. Multiple guns in those households. And who knows how many rounds of ammunition. If this is the problem, if those people are the problem, America wouldn't have 300 million people in it. It'd be far less populated because the people with the love of the gun and the love of the ability for them to be able to defend their family at a moment's notice is strong and so integral to the American spirit. That's how we got to be America. We're not a vassal state. We are something much, much more. And to watch America pull itself apart right now, in this miserable faux presidency that Biden has got going on with the globalists puppeteering him around, and just it's disgusting. Between Biden gaffing everywhere and shaking hands with no one, and then wine mom Harris waiting for her next job to suck some dick and get another promotion. This is just the worst I've ever seen it. And there's a lot of people that they're buying more ammo. They're going to the gun show that once every 3 months it comes to their area, or they're getting their kit ready because we're expecting the worst. We don't want to go out and cause a fight, but we're ready if it comes to our doorstep. And that's why there's so many people trying to push things like Uvalde, and that's why you have so many events like Uvalde, because there is a decided moment where we have tracked so many school shootings, so many problems. You have these kids that are targeted that have antidepressant medicine, and they're easy to control, and you give them a little bit of a toolkit, and you pull their cord, and they go off, and they kill between 6 and 15 people, and it's a news story for a month, which was what pissed me off about Uvalde, because we were supposed to be hearing about what's going on with Davos. I want to know what's going on with Davos. And I had to read up. I had to go on so many different websites to catch all the shit that was happening and being said in Davos. And one of these days, we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to listen to what these guys said on this channel. And we might not have a channel anymore after that. We might have to go to Rumble or Odyssey or some free speech location, because Mama Susan doesn't like when people do that. She wants you to wear a mask when they mandate masks, and she wants to get your shots all the time. And this is not the society that America is supposed to be. I'll let you speak. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's just that I just don't understand when it became the thing or the right thing to do to give up your rights so that someone else can be your boss. And when you go to work, okay, and you accept a job, and he tells you have to wear a shirt, you have to wear shoes, you have to wash your hands, you have to have your hair in a hairnet, gives you all these rules and regulations. Well, when you sign the dotted line to be an employee, you're supposed to follow the rules at your job. Okay. He owns the business. You don't. You work there. If you don't want to follow the rules at your job or what OSHA tells you to do, or you have to wear this special back support when you're picking up stuff or doing whatever, then you quit that job and you get another job.
Mm-hmm.
Or you go
It's out
somewhere
there.
because it's not your business. It's someone else's. So you have to follow the rules. If you don't like the rules, you go on to the next thing. But when it's in your house, okay, you want to put your TV on that wall and you want to hang that picture on that wall and you want to have cupcakes or Cheetos or whatever it is you want to have in your house, nobody has the right to come in and say you can't have your TV there, you can't hang that picture there, and you're not allowed to have those kind of foods in your house. That's your house. You pay taxes, you pay for that house, and you go to your job every day, and you should come home and be able to sit in your chair and watch TV, do whatever you want in your house. But when are we going to say no to the government when they say you can't have this person come to your house on Thanksgiving, or you can't have your relatives come and visit you, or you can't do this and you can't do that? Why are we so willing to give all that back and give it to the government and let them tell you what to do? When did this happen? I don't remember when it happened. It just seems like it was overnight, but I know it wasn't. Okay. Because I've been to areas in certain areas here in the South where when you talk to people, they say, well, no one wore masks here, or nobody had COVID that I know of in this town. Or in SE now, there's small towns, 500 people, 800 people, or whatever, but they don't have a clue why there's this big stink and uproar over what's going on, because it didn't happen anywhere in their town. So, but when you go to the big cities where everybody walks around like zombies and are doing what they're told, nodding their head, wearing their mask, whatever, and that's sad and that's scary that those people in the cities, because they have more votes, are going to be able to tell me that I have to wear a mask in my living room. And if they find out that I'm not wearing one, they're going to arrest me and take my house from me because I can't pay my bills because I'm not at home to go to my job and work and have money to pay my bills. So now I lose my house. It goes back to the bank, and then they can do whatever they want with it because I have no say anymore. Simply because people in the city voted and had more votes in my little town. See, people don't realize that the city of New York has more people in it than the whole state of Oklahoma or the whole state of Arkansas, or maybe the whole state of Louisiana. I mean, people can't comprehend that because when they're walking through their city in New Orleans, it's a pretty nice sized city, but it's a speck compared to even a
barely borough.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's like a neighborhood in Manhattan. And it's a huge city to these people, but we don't have any say. And if we're not careful, New York and California are basically going to make up all the decisions for the rest of the United States. And that's what's about to happen. I really feel that. And these little things like what happened in these school shootings, blatantly, thank God for leaked footage showing us what really happened inside the school and what could have been done but wasn't, because all we had to go on was what these police officers told us.
Yep. And it was the Texas Tribune that got a hold of the footage, and they released it on Thursday night instead of waiting for Sunday when the mayor of Uvalde and the police chief of Uvalde were discussing this would be a good time for us to release it. And they released it a few days early just for the news cycle, because you want to have I'm going to say a hot take here. I hate the weekends. The weekends are when you're right.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. The weekends are when the talk show hosts that you know and love, they're off work and they're just on Twitter and they're doing social media, but they're not doing things like their regular 3 or 4 hour podcast or show. What they're doing is they're getting back to their basics. And the people that take over the narrative are the main news channels. And occasionally you'll have like the small people like Lisa Haven or Ivory Hecker, and they'll put out a video. They'll put out some some really good content for you. But the weekends I hate because if anything happens, if the media wants something to disappear, they release it on a Friday. And Limbaugh taught me this. If you get a news item released on a Friday, it is intended for the Saturday and Sunday sports to drown it out, to choke it, and for people to forget about it before they have a chance to give good commentary on it on a Monday morning. That's why you don't have good quarterbacking done. That's why all these stories are released on a Friday. And Texas Tribune, thank God, they released it on a Thursday because they wanted to finish the week strong and give all these people that have a voice out there on AM band radio to have some serious teeth just bite into this fucking story about Uvalde school shooter and the feckless fucking cosplayers known as police of Uvalde. I've been dealing with this shit 70 miles away in San Antonio for the past 2 months, okay? And if you guys haven't been able to tell, this is my hot button. This is the hill I'm going to die on. I'm going to rip apart viciously these people that ruin the lives of 21 families, all right? For the rest of my days as just a commentator, as a person that, I paint miniatures and I paint dolls. And for that, but my serious thing, I do love journalism, and I studied that for my first few years in college. And my big thing is journalism. I like it. And the fact is that there's not a lot of people out there saying the obvious. These cops cost these families' lives. These cops hurt families. They stopped one of their own from preserving his wife's life. That is a red fucking flag right there. There was a movie, there's been a historical event about Ronin that once they lost their master, they went and avenged him, and then they committed seppuku. Well, These guys in Uvalde, they need to have some ritual katanas handed to them so they can fall on these swords and show the world that they still have honor, and they failed their neighbors. They failed their local people. These guys living next door to them, I would, if I was a cop in Uvalde and I had to look at a neighbor who lost a young girl or young boy in that classroom that day, I wouldn't be able to function. I would have already blown my head off. I would have already been like,
Yeah, but the sad truth about that is that not one person that I saw in that hallway would have the balls to shoot themselves because they don't blame themselves.
No, they don't.
They think what they did was the right thing simply because they were told to stand down or whatever it was, because they drank the Kool-Aid. It's too late for them. They really believe they did the right thing. I mean, look, Hillary Clinton had a server in her bathroom, okay? And
that's some Inspector Gadget, Dr. Claw shit right there.
No, just think about it. She had a server in her bathroom and was answering emails and important other, calls and things like that with no special security. So we don't know what kind of stuff was leaked or what backroom deals were going on during that whole time. And then she has her staff and herself using hammers to smash BlackBerry phones and all this different stuff. And what happened to her? Nothing. Okay. So that goes to show you that if you did it, if you work for the government in your state or your town and you did those things, you'd be in prison. You had lost everything you've worked so hard for your whole life, and your family would be ashamed and embarrassed and, shunned or whatever because of it. But because you're Hillary Clinton or the Bidens, the crackhead son of the Bidens, or whoever you are, when you're in that elite group, it doesn't matter what you do. You could slaughter babies on national TV, cut their throats and gut them or whatever and hang them from a tree, and nobody would do shit. They're doing whatever they want in the wide open now. They don't even have to hide because they know there's no consequences. That's why I know we're in bad shape. And
That last night I had a real rant to start my stream off. In the evening, I turned on the camera and I talked about the abortion laws of Roe versus Wade getting kicked back to the states, and how there's so many people that are upset about that. And if you guys want to watch that, that's just yesterday's stupid news video that I did. But um, it's amazing how we have a narrative that's being shoveled on us, a multiple front narrative war that only rewards those people that want the collectivist mindset with no responsibility, with the devil may care. We don't worry about debt. We don't worry about running our nation into the ground. We're seeing the abortion parades come out. We're seeing all these people step out from like the 1970s when they used to be semi-attractive, and time's not been kind to them since then. And we're seeing all this happen. Hillary Clinton tried even cashing in on the Clarence Thomas hate, talking about how they were in the same school at the same time, which they might have been, but it wasn't like they were at the lunch table together. He didn't know her, she didn't know him, and they didn't run in the same circles. She might have said she was a conservative back in college, but she realized that that wasn't a quick
well,
rock.
we know they run in the same circles because she's on a float in New York City with the king of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
So if she's at school with Clarence Thomas, she's not even going to be in the same room with him because
She's not going to be around.
People.
She's
Okay.
not going to be
And
around.
that's common sense. You don't hang with Ku Klux Klan members if you're not a racist.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate to say that, but I had tons of friends that were American Indians that lived on a reservation. Those were my friends. And I had relatives that lived on the reservation. So I'm just saying, I'm not a racist. I don't care.
I've never worn a cape.
Indian. I don't care if you're if you want to be a gay or transgender. None of that has anything to do with me.
No.
I don't mind. It doesn't affect how I treat people. I treat people depending on how they treat me. If they're respectful to me and they treat me with respect, I do the very best of my ability to be respectful back, because that's how I was raised. My mother would whip my ass if I was disrespectful. If I didn't hold the door open for my elders, if I didn't talk respectful and say thank you and yes ma'am, no sir, or whatever, I got in trouble. And all my friends used to get in trouble. I mean, we used to get grounded. One time
Corporal punishment was your generation, wasn't it? Didn't you and your friend get your ass beat?
Yeah, I took bubble gum out of a machine because I turned a button, the knob, and gum kept coming out. And my sister and I took all the gum out, and we had our shirts filled with gum. And we were sitting there chewing the gum that we could fit in our mouths. And when our mom came up to us and saw us when she had finished grocery shopping, she's like, "Where did you get that gum?" And we're like, mumbling because our mouths were filled with gum. And she said, "You didn't have any money." And we told her it was free. And she's like, "What?" And we showed her that you could turn the thing and the balls just kept coming out. So she made us go to the front and turn in all the gum. And we both got whipped, got spankings, and we got grounded for weeks for doing that. And we were just dumb little kids. We didn't realize that the gum wasn't free, but we still got punished. And we realized when gum just falls out, you don't just take it because you're still supposed to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And now we're teaching our kids that as long as you only steal $900 worth of stuff, that it's okay to steal, even though it's not yours. So, I mean, I feel sorry for these kids. I really feel sorry for these kids because they're being taught everything that's not acceptable, that shouldn't be acceptable to do to other people because somebody had to work for that stuff.
Exactly.
It's somebody's business. They need to make the money to pay their employees. And guess what? Now they're closing. Starbucks is closing like 30-something businesses. Other businesses are closing 30, 20, 30 different.
Yeah.
And then they're all going to whine and say, "Tell me the rich people are hurting us." Well, they're hurting you because they can't afford to pay their employees, and they can't send their employees to work because they could be killed or beaten or robbed or whatever. So they just close the business. And it's sad because you got little old ladies and little old men or just handicapped people or whatever that go to this certain store because it's close to their house because they don't drive. And now they're not going to go to that store, the Dollar General or whatever the little store was that they bought milk and bread at, because they had to drive across town now and get a taxi or ride the bus because some dum-dums thought it was okay to go in and steal, whatever they could shove in their bag and walk out with because they knew they wouldn't get in trouble for it because there's too many criminals and not enough police officers to,
That's that part right there.
I know.
That really is. And I come from an area of the States that they were kind of proud of their racism. I mean, they were. I lived near Niantic and Harristown, and those towns were always rumored to have a lot of people that wore the hood and cape and all that crap. And they weren't exactly nice people to the minorities in that town. And so you see people move into those towns and they move right the hell out within like a month and a half, 2 months. They wouldn't stay in those apartments. They wouldn't stay in those low income areas. They move right the hell out. And, those towns have kind of withered as time has gone on. And then I moved into Peoria, which used to have a great multifaceted face to it. And you had Caterpillar, which would hire anybody. Are you willing to work? Come work at Caterpillar. And then just down the road is a little town called Pekin. And they had a sign. It was one of those sundowner towns. You know what I'm talking about, you older people in the chat. You younger people, you want to know about sundowner towns? I'm not going to say it on my damn channel tonight, but just go read it because they had a sign on the bridge. Make sure you're out of town by sundown. And they had a racial epithet right at the start of it. So you can get an idea of the kind of communities that were in central Illinois where I lived. Decatur really wasn't much better. I that was the one I was closest to for 30 years. And you saw all manner of racism and white on black crime, black on white crime, all sorts of stuff. They really didn't discriminate. Criminals are criminals over there, and that's just a rough town. Johnny Carson said in 1986, if you want to commit a murder, go to Decatur, Illinois. They have the most unsolved murders in the nation. And then my uncle turned into one of those bodies on a slab not too long after in 1988. And it felt like I was getting a slap in the face, and it's no longer a laughing matter. This actually hit home for me. And so I just, that's my take on things. And it really hurts to talk about home sometimes because there were some really good times we had there, but now things have gotten so bad. And whenever I moved to Texas, I didn't realize that there'd be a lot of crime in San Antonio. And it's really not a lot of crime. There's a small percentage of criminals here, but they're making a hell of a mess of this city. And it's very difficult to look at it objectively. I keep telling my wife, we're going to move out in the country. We're going to have ourselves a double wide. We're going to have some chickens and a big dog and a fence, and that fence, if I find any holes in the fence, if I find people cutting holes in the fence with clips or anything, I will get the claymores. And you'll have an unusual 4th of July celebration in midwinter where somebody's trying to sneak across property. What the hell is that? Why is there a large explosion over at Lombardo's? Because
Yeah. That's the good thing about living in our country is that when you pay for your property and you pay your taxes and you're a good citizen, then you have the right to own your property and put what you want on it. And if you have no trespassing signs and people trespass, well, that's to their own.
That's their own fault.
That's their own safety they have to think about.
Take your own life in your own hands.
We're in a country where we should have the right to do that. That's what our Constitution says we should have.
Exactly. And I know that sounds like a very extreme example for some of you out there, but I take personal property rights very seriously. And I don't want you to take yours lightly because I don't want things that you like and you provide for and you fight for and you sweat for those things that you care so much about to be taken away. And Bone says, those Starbucks used to be profitable. Get woke, go broke. You just hate to see it. Yeah, you do. And the thing is that this is a situation in California. They're closing down CVS's and Dollar Generals and all these little corner shops because.
And plus, I've heard that that some of these towns are now making decisions to start cracking down on the robberies and the thefts and the people walking out with merchandise because their businesses are going belly up, and a business can't make money if they're okay. What's the difference between taking all your product off the shelves and taking it and setting it out in front of the store? The difference would be the people are coming and getting it and walking off, but this time they're not pushing and shoving people and they're not risking hurting someone. Okay. But the same thing is going to happen. They have no product and they're not making money off of it.
But and if you are willingly setting your product out in front of your store, in front of the property with no gates, with no cameras, you have an expectation. You've already lost it.
That's
When
right.
you have it in your store and you've got staff there expecting for you to walk to the counter with now product that's in their possession, but they don't walk to the counter, they just walk to the exit and they just like ta TTFN. If they do that, there was an expectation that they were going to lawfully pay for it, and now you've got a business that's just impotent.
Yeah, but why do you think about this? You go in a store, let's say you got a sinus headache or whatever because of allergies. So you get some eye drops and you get some nose spray and you get some cough drops. You're standing in line to purchase it and you got two other people in front of you, okay? And all of a sudden, here comes five people. They will push you out of the way. They got bags and they're filling it up with stuff off the shelves, perfume. Not just one or two. They're taking the whole rack of perfume.
The whole rack.
Then someone else is taking the whole rack of cigarettes. Another one's taking a whole rack of Band-Aids or whatever. They're taking everything off the shelf. Okay, and then they're walking out. What incentive do you have to just pay for your stuff?
There's none.
Okay, because you could, as a person, just walk out with your few little things that you already had in your purse or next to your purse to purchase while you were standing in line, and so could the other people that were standing in line. But now you feel like, what a dumbass I am. Here I am going to stand here and pay for my measly shit with my hard-earned money because that's the right thing to do and that's the legal thing to do. But five people just pushed me out of the way and stole thousands of dollars worth of product because each of them could take $900 or whatever, $980. Okay. So, and now you feel like a fool because you're standing there and you're about to pay for something that someone else just walked out with for free. And your taxes are going to go up because now you got to make up for all the stuff that these people have stolen.
So there's no
your insurance rates and everything else. So you feel like a dumbass, okay? And you feel like a dumbass because you're a legal citizen that's going to do the things and follow the law. So now people are stupid because they're following the law. See, it's upside down world. It's normal to not pay your bills, to not take care of do the right thing, and it's abnormal to try to be the respectful person and care about others and take care of your family and pay your bills, pay your taxes.
We need to bring back shame and tarring and feathering, and we need to start doing that to politicians that are allowing that.
How do we do that? How do we take control back away from these people when it's been 90 years and sometimes 100 years in certain cities? And they've been run into the ground. The streets are filled with drug addicts walking around like zombies, taking bites out of people because they don't realize that they're so messed up. They're wearing $900 shoes, but they're so screwed up they don't know who they are. They don't know what day it is, and they're just walking around like a zombie, falling down, throwing up. But they sure look nice because they're wearing decent clothes. But that's it. That's what we're seeing more and more and more of. Tent cities. Needles on the ground. It's just feces, puke, pee.
It sounds like Bellevue, part of San Antonio.
Me, honestly, I'm seeing more and more and more video from every big city in the United States. Even in Texas, you're starting to see more and more of that in Texas. Yeah, it's all about Phoenix, Arizona still has people like that living under bridges and stuff. I mean, it's sad. And if you really dig deep, every single one of these cities are run by the same party.
The same mindset people that want to torpedo our economy. They want to torpedo our spirit. They want to get rid of the America that was, and they're doing a really good job of it. But there's some hope on the horizon, I think. First off, we had Sri Lanka just a couple of weeks ago. ESG score for Sri Lanka was 98 out of 100. They thought that Sri Lanka was going to turn into some sort of new utopia where they were going to have green energy and they were going to have all these new programs come out, and the people were just going to not have to worry about driving to work in a gas-powered car. The Jetsons would come and Tesla them away, and they would have free energy. And the country went to shit. It's a little shitty country down by India, and they lost a lot of power. They lost a lot of energy resources because they went with the green mindset. And then 10 days ago, I believe it was, Sri Lanka's presidential palace, after the president got helicoptered out of the country because enough people were ready to grab a hold of him and do violence and horrible things to him, the president of Sri Lanka was evacuated, and thousands of people surged onto the presidential palace grounds. They played in the pool. They took photos like it was like almost a January 6th thing. But like it was a real insurrection where there weren't any government to stand by and cower under desks. The government fled like the cowardly little bitches they are, and the people have started to take their nation back. Now, not a lot of news is coming out of Sri Lanka because this is bad for the ESG crowd, the Klaus Schwabs, the Justin Trudeau's of the world. They want Sri Lankans to wear their masks and to, go with solar and get away from natural gas, get away from coal and oil, all those evil things, that makes Greta, what's that little shit's name? Little Greta cry. How dare you? Their Sri Lanka is the point of hope for me, because that could be us in November. That could be completely us in November when we shovel a bunch of people out of work. If we are able to vote in free and fair elections, if we don't have internet machines, if we don't have voting machines connected to the internet that are ruining the vote, for every 10 votes this Republican gets, this Democrat will get an additional 3 votes free, and it'll generate a name and address just out of the ether, because that's what the fuckers do. And we have it on video.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, though, is that it's been over 2 years, and who's gone to jail? Okay.
Again, these.
So why would we think that that next November is going to be any different when nobody's been punished? I mean, yeah, they say, "Oh, we made the law now that they can't do this, and we made the law that they couldn't do that." But guess what? Laws were already in place for them to not take boxes and boxes of ballots out from under a table and put them through a machine.
Yep,
so
and they ran those same ballots 3 or 4 times.
But those laws didn't stop anything, and nobody's gone to jail for it. Nobody's gone to prison. So why does people think that this isn't going to happen the next election? They only need 5, 6 different places to cheat, and the same thing's going to happen this time.
I think that is a possibility, but I'm thinking that there might be a surge of people. 84 million people voted for Donald Trump, 78 million people voted for Donald Trump. Okay, and there's a lot of people that don't like what's going on right now. There's a lot of individuals that are scared because how many Republican tickets or Republicans have emerged out of the Democrat California? They just switched parties. Like it was over 1 million that just were like, we're done. We're not going to be Democrats this go around. Newsom screwed us over too much. You have a DA over there that he's being brought up and his wrists are being slapped. Maybe more will happen to him. But he was putting people back on the street after the 3 strikes rule was being violated by these criminals. and he's going through and like, no, we need to get you out. And he's trying to put the criminals on the streets to terrify the shit out of the people that are still in California. Looking at you, Cal, and Shadow and Sun, and Crafty, if you're here. The fix is in for November, you think? Well, I don't think it is. I really think that parts of the country are going to experience heavy doses of freedom, and there's going to be other places that are going to see nothing change from 2020. You're going to see those same shenanigans happen again and again and again. And the problem is that those places will be slow to change if they ever change. It'll take a miracle for Chicago to ever have a Republican mayor. Okay, it's going to take a miracle for Illinois to go purple. It's not going to be an easy thing. And they've already got their machine set up. They've already got the rigging set up for it. You're going to see a lot of people that are going to get their hearts broken because they think it's going to be a red wave everywhere. I think there's going to be about 5 or 6 states, like you say, but I think they're going to be heavily blue, and they're gonna get even more blue, which I don't understand why anybody would be like, oh, mine is poverty and $17 a gallon gas.
That Texas is already purple.
What? You repeat what you said.
I think Texas is already purple
Yes.
because Beto got a lot of votes, and during the election in Florida with the Golem guy, he was very close to being governor. Okay. Within hundreds of thousands of votes. That's close. And when you had an influx of hundreds of thousands or more of people, that the state of California lost 2 seats. Okay, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. And they moved to Texas and some, to some of the other southern states, but they also moved to Florida.
Oklahoma.
New Yorkers moved to Florida and to Texas. So everybody says, well, if they left, that means they left because they wanted to get out of there because they were sick of that. And they're probably Republicans. And I go, well, I hate to say it, but I don't think so. Because Democrats hate paying taxes just as much as Republicans do. And the sad fact is they move and they vote the same liberal ways, points of view. And over time, the place they left becomes the place they left. Or the new place they moved to becomes the place they left. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's a potential threat that is here, and I'll speak a contradiction on you on this. There's a reason why I don't think we're going to have as much of a purple shift as what we had last in 2020, because this year we had Beto O'Rourke make one mistake, and this is one out of 2 things. There's 1-2 punch here. Beto went over to Uvalde and tried to tell everybody that was on that auditorium floor that they were doing the wrong thing. And for once in his life, Ted Cruz stood up, acted like a man, and said, "Sit down, shut up." And for crying out loud, Beto tucked his tail between his legs and left, because there was a bunch of other guys starting to get up, and they were getting up like Foghorn Leghorn. Now, boy, you get out of here. Now, you look what you're doing over here. What are you doing over here, Beto? Get out of here. You're just making noise. And Ted Cruz looks like a man, which I've never said that before. I've always recognized him as a Ivy League lawyer that is married to money, and he's involved and puppeteered by a bank. Okay, but for once in his life, Ted Cruz looked cool, and he looked good telling Beto O'Rourke, STFU. The other part of Texas that I don't think, Texas is heavily purple, I will agree. I think it's going to go more towards a red this year, because we have something that happened on one of our Cameron County down by the border, little Mayra Flores. This lady immigrated to the States lawfully. Her husband's Hispanic, and her husband's, I believe, Border Patrol. She used to be Democrat, and then she just kind of realized one day, she's like, this shouldn't be political. Me wanting to have a strong family shouldn't be political. Me wanting to preserve the lives of babies should not be political. And all of her statements she's made used to not be political. But for you to say things like there's only two genders, or hey, only women can make babies and produce babies, suddenly that's political. And you have Mayor Flores, who comes out of a district, comes out of the county that's never once voted Republican since the start, and she's knocked it out of the park. And even more importantly, when she gets on the national stage to get sworn in, you have Nancy Pelosi elbowing her daughter during the setup for the ceremony. It was unreal. And if you are questioning this, it's easily findable on Bing. You just look up Nancy Pelosi elbows Mayra Flores' daughter, and you can watch this older battle axe of a woman who's got a good tit job. I will say that if you're 82 years old and you want to look like a 40-year-old, get your headlamps redone, and it'll be fine, because we won't pay attention to that giant archway, that glorious edifice to McDonald's on her forehead. We're going to look at her boobs, and I'm just saying that, like, she has a good boob doctor, But here you have Nancy Pelosi physically assaulting and battering a 9-year-old girl in front of Congress, which was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wasn't it newly one woman daughter pushed out of the way?
The daughter was pushed out of Nancy Pelosi's way.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull this up. If you have it pulled up, just send it over to me. But this is classy. I mean,
and she pushed back. The little girl did. She's brave.
Yeah. So I don't think Texas is lost. I think Texas is very contested, and I think we're in real. I think we're really in play.
I hope so. I'm praying that Florida and Texas.
So you see that? She's like, I hate kids. This is what happens when you're a wine grandma. I'm not slowing it down. That's the video.
Yeah.
And this is Nancy Pelosi. This is our House rep, the House Chamber Speaker. This is what we voted for. Can't wait to see her get unemployed. And there's longer video of this out there where I believe the daughter kind of elbows her back, but that's just to show you guys the level. Like, Nancy Pelosi's fucking evil. I don't know how to say it in a nice way. She's an evil bitch.
Yeah, she is not a good person.
Yeah, China's been buying a lot of property in Texas. A lot of federal land has been going to China, which I find it funny, and that's why Biden had signed off those exec orders to where if you're going to be on a national park in Texas or anywhere, you have to have a mask on, because they've sold parks to China. And it's kind of disgusting when you think about that. Like, no, places that you used to go hiking, now you have to mask up. This is crazy.
Well, I've been telling people we've been borrowing money from China for a long time. Mm-hmm. And when China finally says we want our money and we don't have the money to pay because our dollar bill is not worth the paper it's printed on anymore, they're going to say, well, give us your state parks.
Yeah. And they've already started cashing those tickets. They've already started cashing that in thanks to Hunter Biden, his magical laptop. There was one other thing I want to discuss real quick. It's a lighter piece. Greg Gutfeld had a monologue earlier in the week where he was talking about how he wants Hunter Biden to run for president because Hunter Biden can negotiate and he knows how to talk to people and he knows how to get deals made. He has no compunctions about being in a certain position whenever he's negotiating a deal. And I laughed about it at first, and then I thought about, like, oh God, they could actually really roll with this. They could actually push Hunter Biden as a viable political candidate because he does have a lot of deals in his past, and he's negotiated stuff with China. You know, we're finding all sorts of stuff out. Thank you, 4chan. 4chan hackers are finding out all sorts of things about it, especially the Peter Pedo uh, on the phone, which I never thought I'd ever reference that to a president. But boy, here we are today.
The only reason that any of them even talked to Hunter Biden is because of who his dad was, because he was a vice president of the United States. That's the only reason he was able to even get people to even give him the time of day. And once Biden dies or is just put into the nut house or whatever, when they use the impeachment stuff on him, because they're going to throw him under the bus and blame all the problems, especially if they don't win in November. That's what's going to happen to him, because they're going to use him. He's their scapegoat because he doesn't even know who he is most of the time. So they're just going to throw him under the bus and do whatever they can, to try to repair things and blame it all on him.
You
So
say that, but I see them pushing a Weekend at Bernie's part 6 and 7 and 8 with this guy, and I don't think the movie's done yet.
I don't think that. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't know what they have up their sleeve, but the person they're going to have run next time is going to be a transgender. It's not going to be.
No, I disagree. Most of America is still not ready for a chick with a dick to go up there and ascertain power.
It's going to be a chick. Who says it won't be a woman that's transitioning to become a man?
That the reason I say this is because we saw Governor Newsom tour the White House grounds and proudly take his jacket off and start walking around like he had paid the mortgage on the place for the past 17 years. And he's finally getting a chance to kick up his sleeves and be at the presidential podium and, kind of rub shoulders with those staffers.
Maybe because he's going to be the VP.
He might. They I don't think that they can push him as a VP. Really, I don't. There's too many people that saw him walking around the White House.
I mean, when they get rid of Biden and they put Kamala, she'll be the president, and she has to have a vice president. That's what I'm talking about. That's what he's for. But I'm talking about for the next election for president, not for this.
You're talking like 2030, 2028.
No, 2024. They're gonna have a transgender. You wait and see.
Man, that sounds like a really good bet. What would be a good bet here?
Might be Michelle Obama. We'll see.
Man, we need Wesley in chat. I need Wes Moody in the chat for this.
No, I've been talking to Wes and Drew about this stuff.
Yeah, he was in here last night, and we were talking about things about the NDAA. I'm just saying that he would roll on the ground laughing, and then he'd start crying because it's true. And boy, this is horrible. I could see them trying to pony up Mr. Mike and see how far this wheelbarrow pushes, because I don't see it going as far as what the Chicago people see. They're thinking that they could push Mike all the way through for an 8-year stint in the White House. I really doubt it. I doubt it for the fact that Mike Obama is as much of a gaffe machine, but a younger version of Biden. And I say that because of the fact that one time Mike decided to say black people should go out and enjoy some fried chicken and watermelon. And I had to pause and rewind that take. And he said that where, it was like right around some sort of ethnic holiday. And here it is talking about how they need to go and enjoy some fried chicken. And I'm like, why not just say chicken, waffles, and watermelon? I mean,
Well,
you
the
still
thing is, you have to realize that Obama was raised uh, by rich white people.
yes,
So
yes,
his point of view on things is not going to be the same as that person that grew up in the hood that really struggled and had to do certain things to survive. So when they're inner city kids, they're looking up at Obama and wanting to be emulate him. But the thing is, they never will because they will never be able to grow up in the same childhood that Obama had. Now, Michelle, her family was also rich. Okay.
mhm,
So their lifestyle is totally different than what a normal kid, inner city kid's lifestyle would be. Whether they're white or they're black, when you're an inner city kid, your life is different than a
much.
kid that's raised in a private school with a silver spoon in their mouth. That doesn't matter what your skin color is because it's your money that gets you what you need. Okay.
And I don't think, I mean, I don't know how much you know about Frank Marshall Davis or other members of Chicago's political elite,
Mhm.
but Obama was groomed from day one basically to get in that position that led him to the presidency. He was pushed into that from the start, and the people that they placed around him did nothing but prepare him for it. He didn't take that job very well either. He really wasn't that good of a president. There's too many ahs, too many ums. They propped him up quite a bit and tried to say he's so eloquent, he's so good. Yeah, Joe Biden say he's a very clean black man. He's a clean energy black man, and I thought that was kind of weird for somebody to describe somebody as. But here we have Biden gaff that one up too, and then he gets selected as Veep, which I thought, oh wow, this is good insurance for Obama because nobody wants to see him as president. And then here we are in 2020 voting him in, which well, not voting, but installing him like malware. And it was just a, hey, Fats, how you doing? We had all this stuff happen with Illinois, and if you're familiar with the Chicago machine and how Chicago works, when you have Obama get in that run up to be installed, he started shaking hands and becoming friends with all of the right people. He started hanging out with Ayers and Bernadine Dorn. He started hanging out in the right circles, and they made sure to push him in the right direction. But he didn't really take too well to the lessons because there were still a lot of times where he would be on camera thinking that it was just going to be a secluded visit or be an intimate moment. And he says things that you really can't say on NBC, ABC, CBS, and people would look at you like you're a conspiracy theorist. You have a lot of moments where Obama says things like, I would like to have a third term as president. We can't, but I would love to be in my sweatpants. I want to be in my sweatpants talking into a microphone and have the acting president with an earpiece and my voice just, beaming into his ear and telling him what he needs to do next. And we're living with that now. We have that going on right now. There's so many moments where Obama told you what was going to happen. And the conspiracy theorists like myself, or the people that have farsight, I should say, are like, told you. And here we are enduring the third presidency of Obama. And it's ruining the states. It's ruining America. The ability for us to talk to each other as adults has greatly been diminished. You can't talk to people about why would you want to put a uterus in a man, and someone says that's trans violence for you to ask that. What? Did you see the Senator Hawley versus?
Well, where did they get? Who did they take the uterus from to put it into the man? Is that not considered violence against women? See, you see what I mean? When we
Yeah,
have a person on SCOTUS now that can't even define what a woman is.
and
She's on for the rest of her life.
she's
Just think about it. Or it. You can't say she because she probably doesn't even know she's a she because she doesn't know what a woman is.
and it's really weird how we have all these barriers to just common conversation. which would be considered normal in a polite and honorable society. But the further we're going down into this death spiral of a cultural malaise that we have right now, the more we research this, the more we discover, it honestly feels like we are living in the middle of a coup that's been foisted upon us. We have the forced change of language. We have the hello, Polynesian Minion and Justice Fat Seagull. Uh, we have too many things going on in our society now to where you can't even have a conversation civilly with somebody. You have to have all these safety rules first put up in place, and you have to make sure you don't offend somebody with just a common sense question. And we're back at Mayor Flores talking about how she has this mindset where she doesn't want to be really political. She just wants to live a common sense life. But all the things that she wants to espouse and have people do and aspire to, those things are political. For you to have a good income, for you to have a strong household, a big family, for you to have a loving relationship with Christ and your spouse, that's political now. And
Yep.
we've lost our culture, we've lost our grip on things, and it's still able for us to get it back. But the amount
Can
of
have a
societal pushback we're going to experience
I
is going to be tremendous. Go ahead.
I can't even have a conversation on Twitter and talk about wanting to be a woman. I mean, I want a man to open the door for me. I would like a man to pull my chair out for me. I would like a man to say, or maybe even get a whistle. If a man whistled at me, I'm not going to be offended. I would say, "Wow, thank you." Uh, and I'm the bad guy because I'm a woman, and I think that kind of thing is nice. I appreciate a man being a man and letting me be a woman. You know, maybe I want to show cleavage because I feel feminine or because I want to feel sexy. But because I want to do that, does that make me a horrible, terrible witch because I'm using my body to maybe get someone to smile at me or not look me directly in the eye? Does that make me a horrible person? No, it makes me a woman, a flesh and blood woman that was born a woman. I grew my breasts on my own because God gave them to me, and I'm proud to be what I am. And I want a man to be proud if he wants to grow a beard and look manly and smell manly. Why should I be ashamed that I think that's attractive? I am a woman, and that's what's attractive to me. And now I can't even talk about those things because it's offensive to somebody that thinks because I like being a woman, I don't have the right to do that. It's ridiculous. It's like I don't live in, I am from another planet, apparently, because I don't fit in here anymore. I can't be a woman and I can't like real men because apparently that is not allowed anymore in this country or worldwide, apparently, it seems like. And I don't understand where that comes from. And it almost seems like it's just happening overnight to me.
Well, I,
And
I
even
would
though
tell
I
you,
know it isn't.
I would tell you to watch Telemundo. I know you're not going to understand a lot of it because if you're like me, then you only understand some Spanish, not all of it. But
Mhm.
Telemundo is a good barometer for how Hispanics are going to react to things. And it was funny whenever the debates were going on between Biden and Trump, because Telemundo's audiences after the debates would come out overwhelmingly in favor of Trump because Trump was willing to fight. Trump was willing to put his foot down and make a stance from there and proceed forth with his plans. Whereas Biden came off as weak, he came off as very ineffectual, he came off as an individual not in control of his facilities, which he isn't.
Yeah.
And so I would tell you that as much as there's going to be a lot of corruption on the border counties for Texas. There is, and that's what we live with. But there's also that you'll see the people that are living voting down in that region. You're going to see them go to people that are going to espouse the family values. You're going to see that, especially now that you can't have cis family values, without being labeled Republican and racist, you're going to see a lot of that demographic shift over because they really don't like the idea of drag time story hour at their kids' library. They want to have the ability for their kids to go to school, be safe, not be accosted by a woman with a penis and talked about, all these weird things that doesn't matter to you. I'm not a gringo. I don't like Starbucks. Give me Nana's Nestle chocolate milk Abuetta, which is a really good cinnamon infused chocolate milk. If you haven't tried it, it's at your store. Trust me. And you have this entire demographic, which for the longest time, people thought they were of the blue stripe. They thought they were Democrats. And you have Mayra Flores, which she came out, and when she started making her moves, the entire county flipped. So I would like to say that while Texas might be getting a large number of people that want others to pay for their dalliances, you have a lot of people that are coming here for the strict reason that it is largely cheaper to live here. You have a good chance if you start a business, you can make good money with it, and the fact that you can actually have something to pass down to your kids. Whereas the countries these people are coming from, like Honduras and Venezuela, you don't have opportunities like that. Venezuela used to be a wonderful place. They were number 3 in this hemisphere for oil production. You had the United States, you had Canada, Venezuela. Venezuela is a very small country. It's not even the size of Arkansas, if I remember right. It might be the size between like New York and Arkansas. It's not a very big country, but that was an oil producing country. And when they took over, when their little tin horn dictator took over and galvanized the entire oil production into the government waste facilities and basically destroyed their energy production, that was when you saw Venezuela start to fall apart. And that it wasn't a decade later that Venezuela is a shell of itself. And so people are leaving that, and the strongest Republicans that are going to be voting this November are people that have witnessed tyranny firsthand, and they watched it tear apart their livelihood. That's why whenever I came to Texas, why I got even harder into my mindset, because I lived in Illinois and I watched Decatur pull itself apart with stupid ideas about taxation and forcing us all to pay for retirement benefits for people that did nothing to build the community. They tore it apart. And you see me saying this over and over and over again, but I witnessed that. To me, Illinois is a communist nation because it doesn't function like other states. It robs people blind of what they're capable of putting towards their families. And before another generation goes, they're going to have that state's going to lose another quarter of its population.
Well, how long do you think it's going to take before people finally get fed up and leave, and there's no one left except for the few people that want to live off the government, and they can't afford it anymore because there's not enough people actually working to pay their way?
Well, I'll say that in Illinois, from 2012 to 2016, a taxpayer left the state every 12 minutes. The state depopulated at tax brackets that were at $52,000 and above every 12 minutes for 3 years. And people left. They would transfer out, they bolted out, jobs closed. You had Caterpillar close its doors, and they moved from Decatur. All their equipment went down to Victoria, Texas. When things like that happen, you lost a lot of good, not I would say trade jobs, but skilled jobs, and then you lost the financial sector. Go ahead.
People have to leave before the people that are left realize we got to do something different, or it's gonna be a ghost town.
They're not going to change their mindset. Look at Chicago. Look at Lori Hartfoot. She's not going to.
Money, when you run completely out of money, you have to change something, because you can't keep writing checks and bouncing checks off of a bank account before somebody comes in and says you can't write any more checks.
I'm going to make you aware of something if you were not aware of it already. Illinois is subsidized by the rest of the states. So is California. California has a lot of money going into it from the other 49. Illinois has the same luxurious position to where they can still lose taxpayers. The rest of the states will help pay for it. That
Why?
was that Obama did.
Is it going to be that, like this, like the states say, well, we're not paying them any more money. We can't take care of all their tax.
It would be nice if the states did that, which is why I'm hopeful for the House. I don't think the Senate's going to swing red. I think the House will swing red very hard this year. I don't understand why people wouldn't want the Senate to swing red. You want to have a lockup between the president that we currently have and all elected members of Congress. You don't want to have anybody there on the same ticket. You
Yeah.
want to have serious gridlock because that's going to make sure he's feckless and can't pass another bill. Now, I think the House is going to swing red, and I think the budget is going to start getting fixed a little bit, not nearly enough, because there's still too many Republicans out there that they're really not
It would take 100 years just to try to even make back the money they just gave to Ukraine. Think about it. We're trillions of dollars in debt. How many millions? And we're still sending. We send money to every country, okay, for aid, and they send us all their dregs. Okay, look at South America. We send all of them money, Venezuela, all the other countries down there, and they still send us the people that have no place to go. So we're taking all of their poor people,
all the unskilled ones.
So when are we going to be wise, like Trump was doing? He said, we're not going to send you any more money. You keep your people in your country or you don't get a dime. Remember when he said that?
I remember that.
Well,
I remember that. There was a proud moment for me.
We're back to it where we're handing them the money and taking all their people. So
Hey, have a good night.
We're going to run out of money. You can't feed people when you have nothing. When you have no live, no food to eat, and no money, just like Venezuela, where your money is now toilet paper and people can wipe their butts with it, but you don't need to wipe your ass if you have no food going in.
Well, I'm going to say that we haven't hit rock bottom yet, and that's next year. Are you familiar with what's going on next year? I'll explain to you. Ukraine and Russia have 70% of the world's fertilizer for crops exported from those two nations on an annual basis. What's going on right now has stopped the outflow of their product, and it's stopped a lot of farming in those areas because they're focusing on their little slap match they're having. And I find it really odd that people are still thinking that the Ukraine can fight off Russia. The Ukraine is getting a lot of positive press. They're not having a lot of real successes. They really are not. They've had some good blows against the Russian military. The Russian military is huge, and they can march right over to Ukraine and take whatever they want. Whenever Putin finally takes the gloves off, that's going to be when you see World War III start, I think. But next year, you guys are thinking that the food prices right now are rough. They're high. You don't like paying $12 for a pound of bacon. Just wait for 2023 when America is barely able to fund as much fertilizer as it can for the farmers, but it's jacked up our prices 2 or 3 or 4 times of what they were. And I'm serious. You might be paying $35 to $45 for a package of bacon at the store if you wish to have bacon. Your money, you think it's worthless now, you haven't had the tip of the dick yet. Next year is going to be bad. For those of you that have land, for those of you that have the ability to get animals, get them now. If you don't have fertilizer producing animals right now, you need to get them. There's no other reason than for you to be able if you can't get food, or if you can't get animals on your land or on your property, you're going to be chained to whatever the government is going to be able to dole out to you. So I hope you enjoy Spam. I hope you enjoy rice and beans. That might be the best you see.
That's why they keep telling you to eat crickets and
Yeah.
earth because
Russia, Cigar DM says Russia can't win a fight against the Finnish. Mm, I don't know about that. Go ahead, Janet. I'm sorry.
no, I'm saying that's why the government is trying to tell you to be ready to eat crickets and earthworms and whatever else you can get because you're not going to be able to buy food. You think that okay, you can go a week or so without eating, but you still be alive. But you can't go more than 4 days before you're going to start dying from dehydration. So think about what the cities are going to be like when nobody has water, when there's no water to drink. If people were killing someone over a pair of Nike tennis shoes. What do you think they're going to do when they're dying of thirst? It's going to be bad, people. And after the cities are gone, then that's when they're going to start going to the suburbs. And then they're going to start working their way out to the countryside. And that's when the things are going to get real because the people in the country know how to defend themselves.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think you're going to see a lot of northern states really hit some bad marks, really hit the skids.
Well,
They're going to have a rough go at it.
every southern state has huge liberal cities.
If they do,
Okay,
but
so you're going to have it in every state. Some states are going to be a little worse because they have bigger cities. It's going to take a little bit more time for them to go through their cities, but it's going to happen. If it does come down to that, that's what's going to happen. It's going to start in the cities and progress out from the cities.
I
And
agree with that. And
not,
and I think Texas is like one place that's going to be just a you're going to see a lot of problems here. Once that starts, it's going to be everywhere, mind you. But you're we have San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston. And once those three cities start to collapse, that should be your barometer for those of you that are in the outlying areas, the suburbs, the smaller towns, farm towns. If you weren't able to get a hold of chickens by 2023, you're going to be wishing you had, because chickens can provide a lot of needed things for your farmstead.
yes, they can.
And
And but the thing is, um, what I try to tell people is you need to start networking because if you do live out in the suburbs or in the country, you need to be able to barter with the other people around you. And because when the people from the cities start to, you know, go into the country to try to take what you have from you, you're going to need other people to help you defend what you have because they're going to need you to defend what they have. So you're going to need some people you can trust because everyone has to sleep.
yeah,
And if it's only you and your children in a place that you're going to have some help to defend it. But you got to be able to sleep, and you can't sleep at night knowing that that person might come in your room and cut your throat and take what you've got. So I hate to say that, but that's how you have to think when it comes down to that because these people are going to be fighting not just for themselves; they're going to be fighting to take what you have because they want to feed their family. So it's going to be even worse because it's not going to just be greed. Now it's going to have to be greed for their families because their kids are hungry, and their wives are hungry, and their husbands are hungry and thirsty.
scary thoughts.
I know it is scary, but that's reality. And how can you run a city in the negative? You know, when your businesses are closing, sooner or later, people you can't go to the grocery store. Where are you going to get your food? Where are you going to go get stuff? And a lot of people that don't know how to grow things, even inside their own backyard. You know, backyardchickens.com has over 1 million people on it because people are trying to start growing potatoes in big pots in their backyard because potatoes is a very good, easy to grow crop and it makes lots of it and it can keep growing and growing and growing and growing and keep you supplied substance. It may not be, the very best of the food, but it's something. So people are going to start doing that. People are going to start growing crops in their backyard, but someone's going to have to help you defend it because other people are going to want what you have when they aren't able to do it. The person that's used to opening a can or a bottle is not a person that's used to digging their hands in the dirt and pulling out a potato or a tomato. Two different types. Scary, but true.
Yeah, the CRDM brings up an interesting point. The state can take away your property by pushing new laws into play that should have never been allowed to start to begin with.
Well, if you have a neighbor that says, "Oh, that person has a rooster that crows all the time, and I just can't sleep at night. You need to get rid of it." So then you get fined, $300 or $400 until you get rid of the rooster. So there you go. And you can have eggs because if you have 5 hens, you'll get 5 eggs a day, or close to 5 eggs a day, 200 something days a year. But you can't hatch those eggs and make more chickens if you don't have a rooster. So you got to think about things like that when you're thinking about, well, a chicken lays eggs for 2 years and then they start to slowly grow off, and you have to have a new chicken to replace the chicken that's laying eggs. And then you can slaughter the chicken that's not laying as well and use it for the meat. But you can't have any of that without a rooster. Roosters do make noise, but you can't make more chickens without roosters. So you have to have the noisemakers to be able to fulfill that need. And that lady or that neighbor that called the cops on you all the time because you had a rooster that crowed, that's the first one that's going to be at your door saying, "Can I buy some eggs?" And that's what's funny about it. And that's exactly what's going to be happening if we go off to where a pulse goes off and takes out the grid, and you can't use your debit card because now you have to have cash or you have to have something to barter with. So there's so many avenues that we could go down, but people need to be researching what's the best route for me, depending on where I live, on how I'm going to sustain my families. And hope people are thinking about it.
Well, hopefully this stream doesn't get taken down. If it does, I will upload this over to Rumble and Odyssey because this is in my I just excavated room over on my 50 hours that I had available on StreamYard. Janet, before I do want to wrap up for the night because it's getting it's after 11 here. It's probably after midnight where you're at. What do you have? I would like to end this stream on a positive note.
Mm-hmm.
And being that you are a ray of sunshine. Okay, there are things that you do despite our current situation. There are things you do where you manage to pull out your charisma and flaunt it. Wow, it's a 16, guys. And you're able to do that. I want to know. Till next time we see you, what can we focus on?
For a second. Well, to me, I think if we focus on our families, your mom, your dad, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, or your children, and you focus on those in your life, and you think about them whenever you need to, tell them you love them, give them a hug, give them a kiss, go walking with them, go fishing with them, go hiking with them, make crabs with them, wash dishes, fold laundry with them, cook a hot dog with them, any of those things. And it makes life better because so many people in the world right now don't have anyone. So I try to tell people, if you don't have anyone, go to the library, go to the nursing home down the road, read books to people in the nursing home, or go to the library and volunteer to read to other people, teach them how to read. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to help people in your community, to help somebody. And guess what? You might have a best friend now.
That's a very big possibility.
Well, because if you can't have a pet, okay, I've lost both my dogs last year. They were both old. One was 18 or 16, and the other one was 14. And I didn't realize how much they meant to me until I didn't have them anymore. When you're like looking, oh, I don't need to open the door anymore. You know, you need to put water down in, and it's lonely. But I have chickens, so I take care of my chickens the best I can. And but I do have lots of family around. I have sisters, and I have children, and I have cousins, and I have my parents, well, my dad, and I have lots of friends, and I talk to them, somebody in my family every day, every single day. I'm not one of those people that can sit around and do nothing or not talk to anyone. I'm very, very hands on. I love to talk. I love to listen, um, and I enjoy the company of others. And if more people would try to listen to someone else and try to make them smile or make them laugh by telling them a joke or by just smiling at them, it can help you feel better about yourself.
That is so true. I don't mean to sound saccharine soaked, guys, but I just that some small token to somebody else could really change their perspective. If for not more than an hour, at least give them a brief ray of sunshine for a few minutes while they're going through whatever they've got. You have no idea what battles they've got going on up in their head. Being kind is generally a free endeavor. And for those of you that are still here, I really want to thank the handful that is still left. I want to thank Shadow and Son, Cigar DM, Bone. I want to thank Calvin, Ani, and everybody else that made their way into our chat and listened to us talk about two movies. And oh, Janet, you know what?
Yes, my movie for next week.
Yes,
Okay, I would like to watch Wayne's World.
Wayne's World, the 1990 or what was that? 1989 or 1991?
I don't remember for sure, but
The first one or second?
the Dana Carvey, the first one,
The first one? Okay.
the one with Dana Carvey and what was the other guy's name?
Mike Myers.
Yeah, Mike Myers that played, the British agent or whatever, whatever that.
Austin Powers.
Yeah, the Austin Powers movie guy. But Wayne's World, I think we need a good laugh, and I think it would brighten everybody's day. I know.
I would think that.
So I don't know how many of them has watched it, but it's a movie that I've been thinking about wanting to watch again because I need something to give me a few laughs.
Yeah. I rediscovered 1994, and that was probably one of my favorite years for movies. 1994, 1989, 1986, and those 3 years right there are just like gold mines for movies for me. And so when it gets back to me, I already let people know what I was choosing on next week's stream. I put it already out there. So the fact that you went with Wayne's World, that I hate to say that slips deliciously within my plans, but it does. And I want to thank you, and I really want to thank you for checking this stream out, for starting this with me. We're 15 episodes in, and I wanted to try something different tonight, and I hope you didn't mind it. I hope the panel didn't, the chat didn't mind it. I wanted to talk a little bit about current events with you, and the two current events that tied into each other. Whereas, we had the Uvalde, and we had the Uvalde cops that couldn't take out a single lone gunman. And then you have a brave, like the ballsiest 22-year-old Randy Marsh at a fucking food court that he goes complete. He went complete Clint Eastwood on the gunman, and neither one of these guys have been identified yet. So I'm pretty certain that the gunman that had the rifle that was shooting multiple people, trying to kill them, I think he might be of a certain persuasion of a religion that is not
Mhm.
fun to talk about as a terrorist, you know?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
funny that they're calling the guy that saved these people, the 22-year-old with a pistol, they're calling him a good Samaritan because when Christ talked about the good Samaritan in Luke, he blew the people's minds because he's telling them like, listen, don't try to tell people of your greatness. I'm going to tell you the story of the good Samaritan. And the guy's like, what? And back in those days, the good Samaritan is like saying now the friendly terrorist or the happy sociopath. People didn't get it. And Christ was so profane with that statement that people were just kind of, I don't understand if this really is who we want to use as a Messiah. And they were discussing that. This came back to bite Christ in the ass. This was one of the arguments that they made to Pontius Pilate, like he doesn't really understand our culture, and so I for them to call this guy a good Samaritan, the hero that saved everybody else from getting shot up, this
Uh-huh.
is very indicative and it reflects back, I think, and it's something that maybe I'm looking too far into. But I really wanted to talk about this event and the fact that you haven't heard about it yet. Thank you so much for allowing me to share that with you because I wanted to talk about current events with you. Uh, you've got a great mind. You're as old as I am, and so you've been around for a little bit, and you've done homework. You've watched as much as you like to talk. You seem to really enjoy listening, and it shows when you start to discuss anything. I hear the wisdom that you're speaking from. So your education, both formal and informal, have done you a great service, and I really am blessed to have you on with me every Monday night. This is rapidly becoming my favorite few hours I get. So I thank you, Janet.
Thank you for having me and inviting me to join you on your channel. I've really enjoyed it, and I feel privileged that you have wanted me to come and to listen to what I have to say. I just it feels great to have somebody that actually cares to hear what I have to say, and it makes me feel needed, um, and wanted around. It's nice. I mean, it's like a gift. I look forward to doing it each week, and that's why I think I was so bummed out last week when I my stupid connection was so bad, because I felt like I was letting you down, and I just want to say thank you for caring enough about my opinion to even want me to have you on your channel.
I I know I know I'm probably not the quote unquote the right material for like say a Friday night type stream. And I say that honestly because I just market myself to a certain niche group of people. I love everybody for the most part, but like my people, give me the nerds and the protractors and the guys that understand combat matrices and advanced squad leader. And here soon, pretty soon, Janet, if you're going to be open for it, I'll get you with a group of seasoned gamers that are open minded and open hearted to teach you how to tabletop RPG, and we'll set up a schedule for that. That's in the works now. And
Okay, great. I mean, I'm willing to try it. I'm not saying I'm going to be good at it, but I'm willing to.
listen, nobody's ever good at it at the start. Okay,
Uh
have you watched Stranger Things?
huh. I love it.
Okay, you know when they're playing D&D together
Uh
and
huh.
they look like a bunch of little geeks.
Yes.
That's what it is. They for once somebody got it right.
Fit in.
Say again.
I said I feel like I'll fit right in.
We'll be happy to have you. And for those of you that just heard that, I do appreciate everybody commenting, the few comments I get, the few emails I get that talk about things. I know this was a different stream for most of you in the chat. I've been wanting to do this for a while because the more I get a chance to hear my co-host talk about things, the more I'm like, okay, I got to pick her brain on stuff. I want to hear her talk, and it really when I can sit back and just let her explain position, her rationale, her orientation, and how she decides to act. Basically, when I give Janet the chance to do an OODA loop, which is observe, orient, decide, and act, and voice her theory, I really think like that's probably my favorite time of this stream. And so I got to thank you guys for letting me do that. I got to thank Janet for being my co-host on this panel. I feel this is a really I'm very blessed, and I thank you.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
Would you like to lead us out for the night?
Would I like to what? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I will let you say goodbye to our handful of viewers, and for those that are going to watch us later on, I thank you. And here's Janet to say goodnight.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I really enjoyed it. It was very a mixture of the good, bad, and the ugly for movies and about the state of our country. But thank you for listening to us and caring enough to want to hear our opinions. That's really makes me feel special. And I hope that you'll come back and see us next week.
Thank you,
How's
Janet.
that?